All right, ladies, we are live in Washington, D.C. I am Amy Sousa. I am with my co-host, Kay Yang. It is looking gorgeous on the ground, but we're going to start, as always, with our promo, and then we will get you right into our show. On the ground, but we're
Okay. We're muted on all sides, right?
Love it. Yep, we are.
Okay, great. Welcome, everyone. Okay, we got 32 people in the chat already. I'm going to start the promo, and we'll see you all in just a couple minutes. This is Kay Yang, and you're watching the Let Women Speak Speakers Corner USA Tour featuring Kelly J. Keane of Standing for Women UK.
If you would like to assist us in making this documentary, which is not about a few people sat down having long interviews, it's about real women doing things to try and stop the erasure of their rights and the mutilation of children's bodies. It's about the ordinary women that became activists through this, there's lots of stories to tell, and I'm happy for all of them to be told, but the story that we're going to tell here in our documentary is the story of ordinary women doing extraordinary things when they were pushed to extraordinary depths with this.
I want to thank all of the women who have been organizing. Obviously, a big thank you to Kelly J. Keane. This is for her documentary that she is doing across the United States. These are all of the dates that are coming. If you can make it to one of these cities, please do your best to get there. This is an opportunity for all U.S. women to share their voices. This is a chance for us to really revitalize and give a strong foundation to the activism that we have already been doing.
If you're in the USA, it is really easy to give towards this documentary to make your American women's voices heard, as well as those in the UK and in Europe. This little bit of history and uprising belongs to the brave women and girls who were standing up against this absolute tyranny.
This is about safety for women and girls. This is about defending children, and this is about future generations. We know that this is all leading towards transhumanism. This is leading towards a world of tighter top-down control and control of women and our reproductive systems and our biology. And we will continue to speak out against it. We will continue to name these things, and we will continue organizing across all of our political differences for our goals. For more videos from me, subscribe to my channel, The Deprogrammer on YouTube, and subscribe here to the Known Heretic channel to join the watch party as we live stream every stop on Kelly J's tour. We'll be linking up with women on the ground in every city to bring you live interviews with your favorite fearless female warriors and highlight the voices of women across the country who are standing up against the destruction of female sex-based rights in the name of gender identity laws and ideology. Join the live chat and connect with other women. We'll take your calls and platform your voice live on the show.
This is Speaker's Corner. This is a tradition in the UK. Unlike here, we don't have a right to free speech, and you're losing yours here in this country through hate speech laws which are coming. So what we've decided to do, because women face an existential crisis and the bodies of our children through the threat of transgender ideology, we thought we'd come to the very heart of where it's being sold to Americans through your schools, your children are being gaslit, coerced, and manipulated, through your doctors, through your very, very well-funded pharmaceutical industries. And so this is how we run it. You come and say what you want, because you're finding in your places of work, you can no longer say that you don't want men in your spaces. You have to pretend that women have penises. You have to pretend that it's brave and stunning for girls in this country age 12 to have double mastectomies. So, if you want to speak, you come and speak. Speak really nice and loudly into this microphone so everybody can hear you. If not you, then who? If not now, then when?
Okay, good morning. Happy Monday, November 7th. Welcome, welcome, women.
Welcome everyone, and good morning or good afternoon if you are watching from the East Coast. I want to add to the stream. We're not going to start them yet, but we do have the women are assembling in front of the Lincoln Memorial. So you are going to see some women sitting around, well, waiting or getting ready, preparing, gathering, communing, being in community with one another. And we'll keep that up as things are getting started. But I do want to say we have some special guests today, two of the amazing organizers who organized the events that we saw in Miami just a couple of days ago. The amazing Alex of Pinwheel Art and the amazing Kelly Kay, and we're going to bring them on and talk about them a little bit. I don't know if you have a longer intro for that, Kat.
I do. And I think it's really important that we be introducing women, giving them credit where it's due. And that's why we've been trying to work really hard to get bios for all of the women. So they're up on the screen, and I want to introduce to you now Alex, aka Pinwheel Art, who you all must recognize that. She is like everywhere online. I know we've been following each other for like years now. It's so awesome to put a name to the face. Alex has found herself becoming a leader in this movement. She is a leader in this movement. She definitely is. She's been bringing together women nationwide and organizing free speech for women events in the southeastern coastal states. And Alex is an adult human female like the rest of us. She is a mother of 4 and a campaigner who uses her artistic skills to deliver her message. Love my fellow artists. Go check out Pinwheel's art. She does some really cool activist art. She holds her MA in community arts, and she's been organizing for almost 20 years. And she became passionate about standing up against the gender industry after witnessing the changes in language around pregnancy, birth, breastfeeding, and motherhood. Because we know that they are coming not just for the words around women, but everything having to do with mothers, birth, reproduction, and anything about that. And she graced us yesterday with her powerful voice and amazing speech that she did, along with our sister Kelly Kay, who I would also like to introduce. Thank you for joining us, Kelly. She is a dedicated rad femme and founder of Radical Feminists United. So please go follow her on Instagram and other social media. She posts lots of good content regularly. She is a former paratrooper based out of Jacksonville, Florida. Kelly Kay has attended speakers corners in Wisconsin, South Carolina, and a few in her home state of Florida. After she left the military about a year ago, she started dedicating her time to exercising her First Amendment rights, safeguarding children, and demanding sex-based rights for women, and educating the public on the harms of trans ideology and growing our radical feminist community. So Kelly Kay, is welcome to you, and welcome to you as well, Alex.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Absolutely. This is awesome.
So
go ahead.
I was going to say, well, so ladies, I know that we are all curious. It was really great to see how well Miami went. It was just beautifully organized. I thought that the location in front of Gallagher, aka Yeet the Teats Butcher. I thought that location was just really poignant.
Mhm.
It was so great to see so many women standing up right in that location.
Mhm.
But I know that everyone is really curious to hear from your perspective. How did that event go for you? What were some of your wins? What did you learn from working together? We'd like to hear your story.
Okay, would you like to go first, Kelly?
I am more than happy to go first. With doing these in Florida, it has been such an honor to meet so many incredible women, and we're all on the same page. Everyone had worked together so amazing, and I also think it's a lot of hope that it brings to us too, because we get so much support out here in Florida. We were prepared for the worst, especially seeing everything happen in the other cities, but being able to see so much support coming from the citizens here, it really feels like the tides are turning and very hopeful for the future.
That's awesome.
Great.
Alex, could you tell us a little bit about why you chose Dr. Gallagher's office?
Well, we had actually talked about it since, she's down in that area, and I had a great team of Florida women that I was working with. I had connected with Kelly at the first event that I did in Charleston, and, we just gathered women and brought them all together, and we had the idea, Gallagher's down here, we definitely need to do an event. We talked about if Kelly J came, that we would probably save it for that, so that she would really bring the women. So when she announced that she was coming for this US tour, we were like, all right, well, this is the moment. We're going to do Gallagher's office. She was really excited about it. We were all really excited about it. It was a little nerve-wracking with the threats and stuff. I know those are going around. We have the Trantifa or the terrorists. I mean, they're terrorists. They're terrorizing us. They're threatening women who are simply trying to get out and speak. So there was, a little back and forth of where we should hold the event. And luckily it all worked out where we did our original plan of talking in the park. We kind of anticipated being kicked out of there because we weren't able to secure a permit at the time. I think we got some bad information on the price. It sounded like absolutely ridiculous. So we were able to start in the park. This was kind of what I had in my head, that we'd start in the park speaking. We'd definitely get kicked out with amplification, and we'd march down to Dr. Gallagher's office. So people think we got kicked out and it was like, a mess, but it wasn't. It was really part of the plan.
It was a planned kick out.
Yes, it was something we thought about everything. I had an amazing group of women. They hit the ground running. They got security. They secured a spot. We scoped it out. We had women from that specific area and all throughout Florida. So everyone, had a little bit of experience of what it might be like. And we were able to encourage each other and hold it together and have a phenomenal, I think it was just a phenomenal event. We were all out there melting. Everybody was dedicated. We had some older women that came to join us, and they stuck it out as long as they could. They did their speeches, and I'm so proud of everybody. It was just amazing. It was amazing. I couldn't have hoped for a better event, honestly.
I thought it was a really very special moment that your daughter was there. She was saying she's just 13, and to see her having an opportunity to have free speech, especially in a very safe way, was so incredible. I don't know if you want to, talk about that from the perspective of being her mother, and I'm sure that must have made you so proud. And maybe share with us some of her thoughts that she gave to you about the day.
Yeah, I'd love to. Well, just to start off, we had been talking about this stuff for a while, because once she started to get onto the internet, and she does art as well, she was getting into these communities where this, stuff is kind of targeting these kids who are just trying to have fun, and then these predators are getting into their spaces. Like they share multi-animator projects, but that abbreviation is MAP. They, they chat, and there's the furries that are in there, which are just a lot of innocent little kids who like, fluffy animals and want to draw and have fun. But then you also know about those perversions. So I had no other choice than to speak to her about these things, because she was finding something she was passionate about, but it was also very dangerous, even in the, you know, confines of our own home. So we had lots of talks about what's going on, about the gender ideology, about, you know, predators and all of that. And when I started organizing these events, she wanted to speak out because she was seeing this impact her friends at school, her online communities. And, you know, I said, if you want to speak out, you can. If you don't have to. But I think it would be really powerful if you come along with me to these events and just say what you're seeing as a, you know, as a middle schooler. It's really heartbreaking because she's struggled with a little bit of bullying all throughout life. We're in the South, but we're not religious. So there was a little bit of bullying with that in about second grade. So she's no stranger to getting pushbacks, you know, sadly. So she's getting a little bit, but you know, she's very passionate about it because it is impacting her friends, and she sees these, you know, young girls and some boys being taken in by this stuff, and it doesn't make sense. She knows it's not based in reality. You know, we try to have very factual talks about the body, because I'm into birth work, and she's seen her siblings born at home, and you know, so we're reality based. We love science and learning and thinking critically and, you know, and all of that. So she was really excited to do it. And I keep asking her, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you want to keep doing this? You know, is this causing you any trouble at school? And she's been so brave and amazing. She's such a great speaker. She has
she is.
Yes, she has a talent for speaking, and I really want her to use that to the best of her abilities and for good, because not everybody does. And so I've just had lots of talks with her about it, and she's just made my heart like so big. So like she's has a huge heart. She's an amazing person. Like I can't
done it for all
gush
of us.
about her enough. But it's been quite a journey, and I'm so proud that she's in this with me. Like, yeah.
I'm so glad about that, because I think, you know, this is what we need to be instilling in our youth and helping them to practice, because the more they can practice having a sense of that internal integrity and equilibrium, a place to really come from, the more they can have that in their sort of backpack of skills.
Yes.
You know, the more resilient they are from becoming indoctrinated by this or any other ideology. You know, the stronger they can be in themselves, in their own sense of self, the much less likely they are to be drawn into this or to get caught up in any kind of predation.
Yes.
And, you know, it's sad that any children even have to be involved in this at all or think about this stuff. But the reality is, this is the world that they are being born into. Like you said, as a mother, despite all of your best attempts to safeguard, things are still getting in through the internet. And now with the internet being completely necessary for education and school, it makes it so that it's leaking in at all ends. So these children are unfortunately facing these things. So it is important that you have the kinds of conversations like you mentioned, Alex, and talking about the reality of what's going on. Sadly, this is the world that they are inheriting. When we were your daughter's age, I never even thought about any of this. I never, ever thought that we would go, quote, backwards. I thought that women would be continuing to excel in the world. I was taught that we could be anything. I didn't realize when they said we could be anything, they meant that girls can be boys and boys can be girls. But that is what they mean today. So sadly, this is the world that our young girls are inheriting. And it is important that they be well informed about what's going on so that they can protect themselves and learn how to establish clear boundaries and know how to speak up for themselves. So thank you so much, Alex, for sharing all of that with us. Kelly, I want to ask you, because you've been to a number of different events, speakers corners like this. How did this differ from some of the other events that you've been to? Because I know this is part of Kelly J's tour. It had a lot more publicity. What did you notice between this and other events?
Definitely finding women to come join in the fight was very helpful with having KJK on there. We were able to reach a lot more people and get more women involved. So great thanks to KJK. She's been nothing short of amazing. And Alex over there at Pinwheel, she's definitely been our mom through the whole thing. So I can't even be more thankful for the opportunities that we've had to reach out and be able to get more women involved.
Yeah, they in the UK they have Kelly J. In the US we have Kelly K.
So my name gave me, or my mother gave me that name, so born with it.
And Kelly, I don't know if you want to speak a little bit. You know, when I heard you, the first time I heard you speak was at the Sisters for Sisters Courage Calls to Courage conference, and you spoke about kind of how you came into being a part of this activism because of what you had seen in the military. And I really feel like your perspective on this is something that we don't often hear, but which is really necessary to be talking about. You know, I don't know if you want to give us a little more background about that, and how maybe you are being received by your fellow service workers now that you are becoming more public about this issue.
Of course. So I'd like to start off by, I know that a lot of people are aware of the executive order that Biden signed on his day of inauguration, which started this whole ordeal, but just 5 days later, he issued another executive order that basically pushed this down to the military level. And since then, it's just been completely uprooted all of women's equal opportunity, their rights, and more importantly, their safety over everything, because we know that the sexual assault rates in the military are alarmingly high. It is alarmingly high. And then the fact that they think that this is what's going to fix it is just completely absurd and doesn't make any sense. And I know, I'm not sure if some people have heard of Vanessa Guillen. I know that they're coming out with a Netflix series on that one, so I'm kind of interested into looking into that one. She had gone through a lot of sexual abuse and had made claims and everything, and she ended up being murdered. And so there was a lot of outrage from the females in the service that were like, no, something's got to stop. And so finally, the military ends up pushing out this new regulation, and the Army, I'm not sure about the other branches, they had pushed out this thing called the People First Task Force, which was supposed to alleviate all these sexual assault issues that we're having and to make things better. But it's wild because in that same task force, they are allowing men into women's spaces and allowing these male service members to just identify themselves as a woman and then basically like just go along with those regulations. So they get to use our bathrooms, our shower facilities. I mean, in airborne school, we had open showers, and I was having to shower with multiple women, and we would have to kind of like switch back and forth, rinsing and lathering because of like the time restraints and stuff. And I can't imagine throwing a penis into that mix. It is so wrong on so many levels, and it's just wild to me how they are treating female service members right now when they're the ones that are fighting for our country. And it just really upsets me too, because while I was in, everybody says like, oh, like you're protecting our country and everything. This is like for us and for our rights. And then it's just kind of like, as soon as I get out and I try to exercise my First Amendment right that I supposedly fought for, I'm just shunned for it. And so I really like to touch base on just like the female service members aspect of it, because I feel like they don't get much I guess commentary on it, especially because they can't speak out about it. Like I know that there's a lot of people out here who can't speak out right now because of their jobs, their livelihoods and everything. But in the military, they literally have labeled it extremism if you don't go along with this stuff, which is punishable under UCMJ. And so these women are forced to just go along with these ridiculous sexist regulations, or else they're going to lose all of their benefits that they work so hard for. And so I was one of those people who basically just couldn't say anything. I remember I had told you the story at the workshop about how there was this male service member in the 82nd Airborne Division with us, and he went through infantry training as a male. He went and had like all this feminization surgery, so it looked like a female and everything. kept his penis, is using female-only spaces, and then not only that, but like women who are being promoted in the military, it's based off of like their weapon scores, their PT scores, and everything. And females have different PT scores than the males do, and so they're able to take these tests and rack up all these promotion points to get promoted ahead of everybody else. And it's just so sad that it's even gotten to this point. So I've been able to connect with a couple other service members, and they were interested in sending out letters because they wanted it to be anonymous, because they were literally risking everything for even speaking out about this. And so I had opened up a PO box, and I want to go ahead and get as many letters as I can from any female service members who are having to deal with these sexist policies in the military, or veterans if you have stories at all. So my address to mail these letters, it'll be Kelly K, and that's 101 Marketplace Avenue, number 404-258, Ponte Vedra, Florida, 32081. And I'm sure that Katie and or Amy can post that in the chat somewhere so that you have it. But I
can post that right now. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I just, and it just goes to show, I mean, we talk about this, we've talked about this with Amy Ichikawa when she was on, we talk about it when we've talked to Beth Stelzer, but there is only one sex that benefits from transition. There's one sex that sees direct benefits from these quote unquote transitions, and that is men. And this is what sexism is, when there is a systemic advantage given to one sex, denied to the other sex. That is sexism. That's a systemic advantage created in the system and upheld. And it's just incredibly insane to me that this sexism is becoming invisible, that we can't see it, we don't name it. Those of us who try to speak up about this very clear sexism, we're told we're bigots for wanting to talk about it.
And what we are seeing is that across all sectors of society, no matter if you are already invisibilized and ignored, like incarcerated women, or you are a woman like us, a normal citizen, if you're in academia, if you are working a service job, if you're in the art world, if you are in the military, it doesn't matter where you are. Across all sectors of society, women are being silenced on this issue, gaslit and forced to go along with this lie that men can be women. And not only are we forced to go along with a lie, but we are being put in danger by having males put into these female spaces. Like you said, Kelly, you talked about having to shower with other women and how the dynamic completely changes when there's a male present. You mentioned a little bit about how there are high rates of sexual assault for female service members in the military. Could you briefly tell us a little bit more about some of the sexism that female military?
Sorry, so sorry to interrupt, but can we check in with our feed? Because I think these ladies are going live. So let me just put on the sound and hear what we hear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe no. Okay. Someone told me.
Yeah, you're working with.
But yeah. Sorry. Someone told me they were going live, but let's finish hearing Kelly K, because it does look like they're not quite starting. I just wanted to
Kelly, if you could just tell us a little bit about the sexism that female service members face, and also what we can do to support them, because as you said, if they speak out, they are labeled extremists and it's punishable by the UCMJ.
Honestly, at this point, I'm really trying to just gather enough letters and information from all these women and stuff so that I can be able to bring that forward to the DOD at some point, to be able to address these issues and how the treatment of women is just completely unacceptable in the military. We face sexism in many corners, and I'm not going to say that every man in the military was horrible to me, because that's not the truth. I have some brothers that would protect me at all costs. I would trust them with my life, but there are those batch of people that are just like, the worst. Like, I've met the most incredible people in the military, but I've also met the worst, just like rapists, abusers, and everything. And with the UCMJ, it just gets shoved under the rug so easily because it's all at commander's discretion all the time. And so with Vanessa Guillen, they ended up implementing new policies where sexual abuse cases can actually be seen in the public eye. But for now, honestly, I think the biggest thing that we could do is to get people talking about it. I think that's the first step, is talk about it, get people to open up, and female service members and veterans, please share your stories and discuss what's going on. Everybody needs to hear this.
Thank you, Kelly. And maybe something that I can suggest that we all do is support Kelly in her work. Because, you know, she knows all of the people, she understands how the military operates, she lived this herself. We can support her so that she can do what she needs to do to communicate with these women. And you can follow her across social media at Rad Femmes United. Kelly, did you want to give out any other information on how people can be in touch with you or support your work?
Yes, you can also reach me via my email at radicalfeministunited@gmail.com. I'll respond to that one. If you have any questions on how you want to relay any letters, if you didn't want to do it through letter, if you wanted to go ahead and talk via chat or video, I'm completely open to anything. We need to get that word out there for all the female service members who are being silenced right now.
Absolutely. All women are being affected by this. And even if you, okay, you know what?
I want to go to,
I see that.
Yeah. Okay.
I see that. Kelly, I know you're working though. Are you going to be able to stay in the back studio with us?
Yes, I will be staying.
Okay, and
here.
Alex will be as well. We'll be bringing them back in. Let's switch over to Kelly J.
Stop abusing kids! Stop abusing kids! So, okay, I'm not going to try and let them set this agenda. We will see. I love this. There's no such thing! They're women! Trans men are women! They're women! Right, anyway, okay. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit more fun. Right, here's the rule here. What we have to speak this way. Have they got a permit?
I don't know, but I don't think the park people care.
They won't bother them? Okay, so we had to get a permit. I'm assuming they won't. What? Surgery for just kids! Okay, right, so I'm going to try and plan that out. It's really, really difficult, and I do get distracted, so I'm going to try my level best, because this is about letting women speak. So, which one of you amazing women would like to speak first? Okay, Bill, if you want to come and speak here, I'm just going to make sure you're in shot. You're in shot.
Am I good?
Yeah.
Thank you. I call myself George Sand. It's a pseudonym. Remember when women could take male names as a pseudonym? What brought me here today was rage, but I'm going to speak calmly because I know that's more pleasant to listen to. The lie that a girl or a boy, a man or a woman, can change his or her developmental destiny is the great lie of our age. Along with this lie, there is a contradiction. On the one hand, women appear to be less limited than they have ever been. We can be doctors, lawyers, entrepreneurs, and politicians. On the other, our natural existence is being erased from language, from law, and from history. What can account for this contradiction, this simultaneous prosperity and erasure? How can a woman be nominated to the Supreme Court and yet have to provide, as the price of admission, sworn testimony that she cannot define what a woman is, when we all know what a woman is? Read my shirt. A woman is an adult human female. This contradiction comes from the complete capture of modern feminism by the market. The feminism of my childhood, epitomized by a canvas bag. But this mantra of resistance from our foremothers was never meant to be taken literally. They knew that women and men were not and never would be equivalent, and they did not expect nor desire to cease to be women and mothers when they became doctors or lawyers or professors or politicians. Second wave feminism was not a rejection of men, but rather an expansion of the possibilities for women. And for many, it has been liberating. But there is, we see now, a darker side to the fight for so-called equality. Equality implies that women and men can be made equivalent. Perfectly promoted without a culture that acknowledges, honors, and incorporates the fundamental. The market can and will sell the notion that a man can simply become a woman. For what does the market know or care about what it is to be a woman? The market rejects all culture that limits its possibilities. It prefers customers who are blank slates, ready to be sold, first the categories, and then anything that suits the category selected. A man who feels like a woman, who wants to wear makeup and a dress, he is just another marketing opportunity, another lie to make a buck off. And the market is therefore only to be expected that men can be women, and better, as in more profitable women. Look at Dylan Mulvaney. He's gotten more money and recognition in his mere months of buying and selling, quote, girlhood, than most women who actually experience such a thing do in their entire lives. He may be a troll, but the market has been trolling women forever. This is just the newest, latest effort to profit at our expense, to take our existence and sell it as a product. I feel lucky to have grown up during a time when the marketing machine was not yet powerful enough to convince me that a woman was what you saw on a magazine cover. I had an in-person childhood among many girls and women. I could easily recognize the gap between real and fake, the image and the flesh. In this last generation, that gap has been erased. There is no longer a difference, so the market tells you, between what you think or feel and who you are, and then who you are and what you deserve. Any feeling can be defined as your reality and then be used to justify any demand. Desires become needs. Fantasies become surgeries and wrong sex hormones given upon asking, and even covered by insurance, which basically means we pay, because we pay the insurance companies. And so the mantras we thought expressed our autonomy, our self-determination, now they are revealed to be mere marketing slogans. Take my body, my choice. This pro-choice axiom, and I am pro-choice, is now the most macabre of transhuman nightmares. Not enjoying puberty? Do you not consent? Just buy something different. Care no matter what, Planned Parenthood says. Indeed, even when it's permanent self-harm marketed as personal liberation. The only way for women to experience liberation is to rebuild a culture where the natural, unalienable asymmetry between men and women is recognized, honored, and perpetuated. A culture in which women, not the state, not our doctors, not our children's teachers, not our bosses, not big pharma, not big tech, and certainly not Planned Penishood, directly control what is ours. Our own bodies and the upbringing of the children who directly depend on our bodies, our wisdom, and our care. It is our own hands that must hold the tools. This is not a liberal or conservative culture. Both of those sides are funded by and work for the market. Both sides reduce women rather than affirm the autonomy their natural differences grant them. The last president thought a woman was just a pussy. That's where he grabs them. The current president thinks a woman is a feeling. That's why he invites a man named Dylan to the White House. Successful cultures honor the unassimilable difference between men and women. Destructive cultures deny them. And so our rage must turn to resistance. We must resist this progressive, misogynist, homophobic movement promoting the erasure of women and lesbians especially. The law is not enough. We must build a grassroots sisterhood that keeps in our hands what is rightfully ours. The bastards are trying to grind it down by insisting that men be allowed everywhere. They are forcing us to question every public encounter. Is that a man? Am I safe? Should I say something? The answer is, say something. The only weapon they have is our silence! If we speak, they lose. Even the men pretending to be women know who the women are. That's why they don't want a third space of their own, because it would only be full of men. and the thrill they seek comes only from the compliance of women. Be kind, they say. Translation, submit to my desires. I am George Sand, and I will never submit. My dissent is on the record. I could never have done this without the inspiration of many other women who have done this live and on the internet. Thank you, Exelanzic. Thank you, Eliza Montegreen. Thank you, No Heretic. And most of all, thank you, Kelly J. Keith. I am honored to stand beside you today and these other women. You leave me in awe. So finally, to the women yet to speak up, find your voice. It is the only way we can win, and we must win.
Well done.
Thank you.
You managed to grind out the toddlers. Okay, just to let you know that the people behind are basically girls and grown men who don't, those men don't think they're women. I think they like the butchering of kids. I have no idea why they're there. But especially him. There's a groomer there with Protect Trans Youth, which basically means he wants kids to be butchered. So that's nice. Okay, who would like to talk next? You have to really focus so you can just drown them out in your head. It can be heard online. Do you want to speak? So if you hold that on your paper, that's if it's difficult, don't worry too much. This is my microphone.
Okay, but you can hear me if I'm talking into this. Okay. So try to block them out and say what I want to say. I was pretty naive about what was happening when I first heard about transgenderism and gender dysphoria. I thought it was a fringe thing. People were just working with their therapists and doctors, not really any of my business, nothing to worry about. But I've learned that this really is an attack on truth, an attack on women, an attack on children, an attack on people with mental health issues, and it's evil. I can't even address that right now. I work in mental health, and I know that we disassociate from our bodies, we objectify ourselves, we commodify ourselves, and we cut off for lots of different reasons. Sometimes it's a response to trauma, sometimes it's just how we're raised, there's lots of different reasons. And a good doctor and a good therapist would say, you're fine how you are, your body is fine. But gender affirming care is preying on vulnerable people with mental health problems. They're saying your body is fine. They're saying, okay, we'll cut off your breasts and you can be a boy. Or we'll castrate you so that you can be a girl. Dr. Daniel Metzger of WPATH said, I know that I am talking to a blank wall when I am talking to 14-year-olds about the side effects of puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones. I am talking to a blank wall. This is a WPATH endocrinologist. This is not informed consent. This is medical abuse. And again, this is an attack on women. We are telling women and girls to ignore our boundaries, ignore our instincts, ignore what's in front of our eyes, and to be kind. Their kindness is just a mask for our fear. It's their way of telling us to just shut up and listen and don't question and do what you're told. Be kind is what they tell us, but it's a lie. Women are being raped in prisons right now. Women are being frightened to use their own single-sex spaces. We're telling high school girls that they have to ignore, again, their boundaries, and it's wrong. It's criminal. And that's why we're here today. And I'm here personally because I'm a mother. I have a sister with children. I have nieces and nephews. I have a grandmother. I have a mother-in-law and aunts and many women that I care about, many children that I care about. So even though these people are loud, we're still going to be here and be heard because we care about women and children and truth. Thank you. I don't know what to do. All they have is noise and intimidation, but we speaking truth here and it terrifies them. Does anybody else want to speak? Here comes Kelly J. Okay. I just thought I'd be a bit of a... They're just demented, not wanting women to talk at all. So they really do need to be told. Who would like to speak? You? At home, they can hear you really well because it's not to shout too much to let it all. Yeah, they can hear you. They can hear me perfectly well. Just talking to you like this. But if you can just try and just get rid of them in your head, the earphones help. So I'm here because I, for a long time, identified as a trans man, but it turns out the ultimate issue that I face was my body was wrong. The problem was that our society is so incredibly sexist that trying to be a woman or a girl in this world is painful, incredibly painful. And so I could have really messed up my life. I could have really messed up my body and not been able to live as the full, happy adult human female that I am. If I had actually pursued transition as a compassionate teenager in a sexist world. So when people say protect trans youth, what I really hear is don't protect. Chemically castrated, and the ultimate not being a woman in this society. But it's the only way to say it. So that's why I'm just here today. Hopefully I did hear you. Okay. Do you want to speak? It can be heard. Yeah, I'll just do that. Okay. Just this one? No, this one's mine. Otherwise, I'll hold one. Oh, okay. Do you want me to? Either way. Oh, I can hold it. Thank you. Hi, I am a medical doctor, and I won't use my name here, but I'm sure if you already know me, you'll recognize me. I'm no public speaker, but this issue is just too fundamental and important to me, so I've typed it up to give myself a bit of a peer cushion. This is a public record of my dissent. I wanted to say something to millennial women. Sorry. Oops, sorry. Okay. I want to say something to millennial women like myself who were or are on the left, if that happens to still have meaning for you, as well as to fellow millennial doctors and maybe Gen Z students in medical school. I know this seems like a righteous cause. Some of you, despite your intelligence, are not lying. This one is a lie, but for some like yourself, you are on the left. You've always supported gay rights, abortion access, against medicine cycles. Trans resources.
I think I'm getting it now. Oh my god, it's so hard to figure out.
I even wrote an article about
No, we're not getting sound from you. I'm not getting sound from any of your mics.
This was the longest I had spent researching any article. I felt like my argument wasn't really convincing, that there were holes in it.
No.
I was frustrated.
No, I'm only picking up sound from Kelly J. Keen's feed.
I can only clearly articulate today one of those most common arguments that I attempted to employ myself when looking at this issue from a superficial level, that sex is a spectrum because there are intersex individuals, was flawed and they didn't want to confront it. Klinefelter syndrome, for example, is a genetic condition when a male has an extra X chromosome. If you Google Klinefelter syndrome, just those two words will say that exact same thing by any medical resource on the first page. Same with Turner syndrome for females or any number of genetic alterations. A male or female born with chromosomal abnormalities does not prove the sex binary doesn't exist. In fact, it is the exception that proves the rule because there would be nothing to deviate from if the binary didn't exist. It might sound crazy that I was able to buy gender ideology as someone who had studied this biology,
Also,
but I want to stress how the psychology in
your second camera 2 is like looking at the trees or something in the ground.
Something is true. You want to be a good person, so you justify it to yourself and to try questioning it further. I say this to say, for some of you that may not be fully entrenched in the ideology, but are afraid to question. I understand where you're coming from. I was there too.
Can you hear me?
I've read all the pro-gender ideology resources I could because I wanted to believe. And that's why protesters like this desperately try to shut us up. They don't want you to hear the other side because you won't see the flaws in their logic. There is no other cause they deem to be on the right, which specifically gets not just protest, but attempts to silence. It must be because they know if we read one side and the other, we know I found myself face-to-face conversations I couldn't deny. Anyone, as we all know from the bullying tactics that are used to suppress even any questions. Let me give you a quick biology lesson then. There are two sexes, male and female. Our biology is essential to the science of medicine. The workup in the ER done with pain is completely different it's completely different for men than for women because different organs are there. The reason to suspect a heart attack in men versus women is different because women present with different symptomology from men. The endocrine system, which produces hormones, has different effects throughout the body that are different in males than in females. It is important to know who is male and who is female, which is why the push to erase sex is very dangerous to medical care. Even in my field of pathology, it would be impossible to diagnose a malignant tumor of unknown etiology if I am not able to know if the individual is female and therefore has a uterus, ovaries, fallopian tubes, a cervix, vagina, breast, therefore excluding hundreds of subtypes of cancers originating from these organs. On another topic, the lack of medical research to back this up is appalling, and doctors who question this, like Julia Mason, are silenced that many of us know the truth, are too busy in our respective unrelated fields to research this, or like I said, are younger people in the profession socially conditioned to not question it like I was at first. But as I looked into this further, the capturing of the institution and the lack of evidence to back this up becomes more clear the more you look at it. The transgender and pro-child transition surgeon, Dr. Marcy Bowers, said, and I quote from the horse's mouth, "Every single child who was blocked at Tanner stage 2 have never experienced orgasm. How long can we ignore the first decree in our Hippocratic oath? First, do no harm. How much money is it worth? Doctors, is it worth your degree and integrity? Is it worth children's bodies and women's safety and healthcare? The lawsuits are coming, and they're not going to be pretty. The least you can do is research the other side. Make sure you understand what you're opposing. If it's truly wrong, no harm done. What are you afraid of? All I can say is I've never been more sure of anything in my life. I'm going to stand on the right side of history, and I hope you will too. I'm going to let you see what they're doing. There's a man on one of the megaphones dressed as a woman. So,
Hey. Let me see.
We had to get a permit today. Yeah, they do have a First Amendment right to free speech, but they're not supposed to disrupt. And they're basically just.
That's better. There we go. Wait, I lost it again. Hold on. Shoot, where did it go? Oh, shoot.
What do I do? Okay. This is Amy's microphone.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone.
That's
It's a beautiful day in Washington, D.C., notwithstanding the lunatics that are surrounding us and trying to shut down women's speech. It's great to be here. I just want to say a few things. I know a lot of women want to speak. Probably between the 3 points that I want to make here, I will manage to piss off just about everyone. But you know what? That's okay. It's okay to disagree with each other. The movement to protect the sex-based rights of women and girls is a big tent, and there's room for a lot of us, even if we have points of disagreement. We can do this. 1, a woman is an adult human female, and those of us who are committed to fighting for the sex-based rights of women and girls will never, ever stop saying that. They can do whatever they like to us. They can attack us, arrest us, and lock us up. Those of us in this fight will never stop saying what we know to be true. So-called gender identity is a lie that has no basis in material reality. I'm very happy to report that last week, a panel of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit entered an extremely important ruling in the case of Green v. Miss USA. In that ruling, the Ninth Circuit found that a beauty pageant that was open exclusively to natural-born females has a First Amendment free speech right to exclude men. And the panel did not hold back in its language, which, I might add, is very turfy. One of the things that is so great about this is that one of the opinions cited a friend of the court brief that had been filed by the Women's Liberation Front. To the best of my knowledge, this is the first time that a radical feminist brief has been cited in a court opinion on the topic of so-called gender identity. This is a massive victory for women and girls, and we need to celebrate it. I want to pause here to note that the U.S. Park Police is here and are doing nothing to stop this. 2, most people know that I'm a leftist radical feminist, also known as a TERF, and that I have in the past made strategic alliances with some conservative individuals and organizations that are tapped into the U.S. political scene and who know how to get things done. I have no regrets about any of that. It's effective political advocacy, and men do it all the time. I am also happy to know plenty of rank-and-file Republicans, probably many of the people here today, who are committed to defeating so-called gender identity. I should note quickly that the conservative individuals and organizations that I have worked with generally do a good job of acknowledging the contributions of radical feminists to this movement, unlike certain other conservative individuals and organizations who I won't name. Having said all of that, there are certain elements of society with whom I want nothing to do at all. If anyone here is a neo-Nazi, I do not want them in this fight. If anyone here is a member of the Proud Boys, I do not want them in this fight. I could list more, but you all get the point. Finally, I know that Kelly J does not wish to impose any conditions on the women or men who attend her events, and that is totally her right to do. Speaking solely for myself, I am committed to the principles and practices of nonviolent direct action, and I am so for a reason. I understand that women all over the world are subjected to horrific violence at the hands of men, and that we have a completely understandable urge to fight back physically. I get it. I just want to emphasize that in my view, the reason to engage in nonviolent direct action is not to be nice, and it is not to be morally right. The reason is to be effective. There are things that are more important than physical safety, and one of them is winning, and we will win together. Thank you. Who wants to talk?
How do we speak? I'm just speaking to it. Am I looking there or there? Doesn't matter. Huh? Yeah, I'm gonna be short anyway. That's all right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, sexism on display. Sexism on display. Telling us to shut up, telling women to shut up forever. Forever. You can't identify your way out of sexism. You can't fight for women's rights if you can't say what a woman is. Let women speak. Again, let women speak.
Okay, I don't know where Kelly J is, so I'll just go on and on until she gets back. Okay, so as people may know, my name is Kara Dansky. I'm the author of the 2021 book, The Abolition of Sex, How the So-Called Transgender Agenda Harms Women and Girls. I'm also the current president of the U.S. chapter of Women's Declaration International, which works to advance the Declaration on Women's Sex-Based Rights throughout law, all over the world, at all levels of government. You can find it, you can read it. If you agree with it, you can sign it at www.womensdeclaration.com. Article 1 of the Declaration on Women's Sex-Based Rights holds that women is an exclusively female category. Article 2 of the Declaration on Women's Sex-Based Rights insists that mother remain an exclusively female category throughout law. Article 3 of the Declaration on Women's Sex-Based Rights provides that women must have unlimited access to reproductive integrity. Article 4 of the Declaration on Women's Sex-Based Rights holds that women must be free to their expression and opinion. Article 5 of the Declaration on Women's Sex-Based Rights states that women must be free to assemble. Article 6 of the Declaration on Women's Sex-Based Rights addresses the importance of women in political participation. Article 7 of the Declaration on Women's Sex-Based Rights holds that women's sports must be reserved for women only. Article 8 of the Declaration on Women's Sex-Based Rights demands an end to male violence against women. Article 9 of the Declaration on Women's Sex-Based Rights protects the rights of the child against the harms caused to children's bodies by hormones and surgeries that mutilate and sterilize them. Who else wants to talk? Come on.
Can we have that really as close to you?
First, I want to say thank you to all the women and the organizers here that were convicted enough to be here to use your voice. I am by no means a public speaker, but I cannot be quiet while I watch womanhood become the next target of cancel culture. Womanhood is not a social construct. Womanhood is immutable, and this is not up for debate. Shame on the right of preventing women from access to healthy healthcare, and shame on the woke left for sacrificing our safety trapeze, what is nothing more than patriarchy in a dress, making a mockery of us. I will not stand by and let the woke school system lie to my son about something as basic as biology. We have a fight ahead of us, and I will stand with women and children in this fight. We are the heretics that are guiding and protecting those until the rest wake up. Thank you.
Welcome to the space that men want to be in. A space where women are speaking.
Okay, did you finish? So, what's happening here is that they just don't want us to speak. Because clearly what everyone wants to say. Do you want to speak? Just let me know. Okay. Do you want to speak? She's tasting it. Yes. Why are you here? Hi. Hi, how are you? So nice to see you. One sound. So, no. Yeah, we're just going to try and hold the space because this is insane. Absolutely demented. This particular person's insane. Okay, so we're going to carry on talking. We're talking to the park police at the moment because we had to get a permit. We had to get a permit. Okay. Yeah, but they're all mad. They're all mad. Okay, so do you want to speak? Oh, we could do that. Yeah, we could do that. We could. If you want. Who else wants to speak? Are you going to speak? Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move all of our equipment and we're going to stand here so we can get you a bit further away from the noise. Let me just, I'm going to let you hear this.
How about this? If we start removing some of the new group, just cut us off. Let's stop what we're trying to do.
Okay, right, they're about to move the protesters. I'm just going to film this. They're going to move them all. They're going to move them all. So you might want to get it. So this is the park police. Bye bye baby, baby goodbye. La 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 la. It won't be in tune because I can't actually hear myself think. But this is great. They're going to resist, so this is going to be fun. because they are disrupting, so they are actually infringing upon our rights to free speech. So just going to keep you. Well, I wonder what happens in America if you don't do it as a police terror. I guess it's not going to be great.
This is insane. Kay Yang, I'm going to add you to the screen. We'll go back to them if we get some other sound on them. It is really hard to hear, and I just want to just make some observations with Kay Yang right now. This is, you know, this is their tactic. I want us to really pay attention. Notice how when these speakers come, they are the ones encroaching on our space, encroaching on our boundaries, getting right in women's faces. This is, you know, this is what we always say. This is a boundary violation movement. They are in a constant practice of violating our boundaries, and we are simply trying to hold space, claim space, speak in public, and they are the aggressors. So what we can see at each of these events is they are the ones who make themselves the aggressors. And we'll leave them on screen, and if they start doing speeches again, we will put it back up. I really want to give a shout out to Becky, aka Casio, for getting some great sound on the ground. She is amazing at picking that sound up, so we can hear the speakers clearly, even over that noise, over that TRA tantrum. But Kay Yang, do you want to make some observations? My ears are actually ringing from this.
Yeah, my ears hurt a little bit as well, and I'm sure everyone listening at home has had to turn the sound down just to be able to watch the live stream. So we apologize about the sound issues, and we thank Strange Chaseo for all her work to get us decent sound. And this is one of their biggest tactics, is to silence us. You can see they don't even use their own mantras anymore. They're going straight to repetitive sounds and siren and alarms, because they know that no one's listening to their mantras, and they know that they don't actually have any arguments, and they know that what the women on the ground are speaking truth, and they're speaking about reality, and they are attempting their best to cover that up and silence it, because this is part of how this entire agenda is has spread so quickly, is that no one knows that this is happening. It's not reported on but in the media, and when it is, it's biased, because the same people that it's the same people own everything. The media is completely bought and sold and controlled. So the propaganda is completely one-sided. All these women who oppose trans are evil, hateful, bigoted TERFs. You all know the propaganda. You know what they say about us. And this is what they are relying on, that we will continue to be silenced and invisibilized. And that's why it is so important that we have events where we go out into the street and say, you know what? You've banned me on Twitter. You banned me on Instagram. I can't have a Facebook account. My Patreon was taken out. Everything's been taken away. So we go out into the public square and we raise our voices. And that's what's so powerful about events like this, because they really, really don't want anyone to hear us, because they're full of crap. We know that. They're a house of cards. They have no arguments. They are upholding absolute lies and falsehoods. I don't know what's going on in the image. We have some dancing going on.
I don't know. So this person who's dancing, we're the sound that we have is picking up from the oh, there's Jay Thomas.
We should resume. Okay. All right.
There's Jay.
Okay, let's resume.
We might get
great.
something.
They're gonna keep
So, you know, it's a good day because we've got 2 documentary film crews here today. We've got the lovely one with me. We've got some media. Obviously, we haven't got any left-wing media, so that'll be something to moan about women at home. Because the left-wing media don't care about you. That's why they haven't come. The right-wing media have come because, contrary to popular belief, they actually don't want to butcher kids. And they actually do know what a woman is. So are they being made to go? I'm going to take these out. There's this woman who's been really loud. She's now just got a little whistle. So she's gone from shouting trans rights, human rights to woo, woo. Anyway, we can now, the freedom of my ears being able to hear. So we've come here to let women speak. 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 Okay, right. We have come here to say, oh God, can you hear that whistle? We have come here to say women don't have penises, men don't have vaginas, transitioning children is abuse. Old block feature man over there is a child abuser. He quite likes the idea of small children, girls having their breasts removed. We are not going to be silent. They can come time and time again. They can scream in our faces. They can put sirens in our ears. But we will be heard. Right. Yes. Hello again. Hi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good. Right. Let's have your lovely voice.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hold up like this.
Yeah. That's my microphone. So you might not be heard by all and sundry, but you will be heard by the live stream.
Okay. Last year, I had been a gym rat for 14 years, and before that, I was an athlete. My first experience with transgender ideology and its dangers happened last year at a gym. One day after finishing my workout and using the sauna, I undressed to shower. I heard a man's voice and instinctively froze in panic. It was the first time I had ever been frozen with that kind of debilitating fear. I didn't understand this reaction at the time because all I wanted to do was run away, but my body wouldn't let me. Coupled with confusion, the fear was further compounded by the loss of control over my own body and its inability to move. It was identical to what Kelly J. Keane once explained in one of her live streams when she talked about her own experience in the bathroom with a man. According to her experience, what I was feeling was a natural response to danger and that my body was doing what it instinctively needed to do to protect itself. My heart was pounding and my breathing arrested. My mind raced with rapid thoughts, trying to think of every plausible scenario that would make this man go away or make him not a man. It was all in vain. I was in a wide open space in a locker room with a small towel that didn't cover my entire body, and there was nothing nearby to take cover. I expected this man at any minute to discover that he was in the wrong place, apologize in shame, and leave, but that would not be the case. When I first saw him, he had his pants down and had been making his presence known through cursing, yelling, and grunting, further causing alarm and discomfort. The horror I felt was indescribable. I felt violated, humiliated, and powerless to get him out. After following me with his eyes and looking back in my state of undress, he left with his 9-year-old daughter who had been in there with him. I reported the man to gym management. Instead of upholding women-only spaces, they told me things that made me question my own instincts, my eyes, my ears, my feelings, and my reactions. Essentially, they made me question the truth. They tried for about an hour to convince me that this man was a woman and asked me to delete the review I had left, warning other women that this gym allowed men in the women's locker room. All of this was done so that the man could have me and other women around to play along with his perversion and to groom us into feeling comfortable undressing in front of him, something I'd never consent to. I canceled my membership and went to another gym where I was assured by management that they didn't allow the aforementioned scenario in the women's locker room. I was also told that if anyone made me feel uncomfortable, I was to report it to management and they'd take care of it. Well, it wasn't long before I found myself in the locker room with a rather large man who quietly sat in the corner behind me, smiling and complimenting me as I was bent over a sink. I felt anger at the audacity of a man quietly sitting in a corner doing absolutely nothing as women walked around nearly nude, not realizing he was there. I wasn't frozen with fear this time. Instead, I stormed out in rage. I reported him to management, expecting them to take care of it like they told me. When they finally discovered which man it was, they changed their tune. I was told that the man was a subset of a woman and was offered to take a time out with my gym membership or cancel. I promptly canceled my membership. Every attempt I've made since then to leave reviews warning women about this have been deleted or hidden from view, effectively robbing women of informed consent, which would put them in harm's way. The gym knows that once women are made aware that men can sit in the locker room and get a free, undisturbed peep show of them and underage girls, women are not going to put up with it. When we women see the locker room that corresponds to our sex and only our sex, it signals to us that there will be no men in the area and that we are free to undress, use the toilet, tend to our menstrual needs, among other things. It's beyond condemnable and atrocious to then tell men that they can go into these spaces without the knowledge or consent of women and girls. But let's be honest, why would they tell women that men are allowed to watch them undress in the locker room and risk losing their memberships? The few places that have been brave enough to kick the men out have been sued, and the men were allowed back into those spaces anyway. So how are these two situations that I experienced possible? Transgender ideology made them possible by their disambiguation of language and the meanings of words. Transgender ideology states that it is how a person feels or a person's declaration of how they feel that determines their gender identity, regardless of their birth, sex, or anatomy. This means that the definition of the word women loses all meaning and now includes men. By changing the definition of what it means to be a woman, this ideology by design effectively dissolves boundaries, consent, safeguarding, privacy, and dignity for women and girls. In essence, this means that all men are allowed in women's spaces as long as they make a declaration, wear a dress, change their driver's licenses. Additionally, they are to be assumed to be women and therefore not a threat simply because of their presence in a women-only space. That's all that's required to be a woman, according to this ideology. Despite the incidents of rape, sexual assault, peeping, upskirting, filming, and exhibition in these spaces, transgender ideology is only gaining momentum. Transgender ideology states that we women need to continue to allow men in our spaces to keep them from killing themselves. I guess that means they pinky swear not to kill themselves if they can see us undress or be around us when they whip it out. Fuck that. What does that sound like to you? Sounds like emotional blackmail of the highest quality. But it's also not our fucking problem. I refuse to undress in front of a man to keep him alive or to keep him from killing himself. But let's be clear, they don't really mean that. It's all part of the grooming process. Without truth, there is no definition of what it means to be a woman. Without this definition, there can be no women's rights. Without these rights, there can be no boundaries. Without boundaries, there can be no safety, dignity, privacy, or justice for any woman or girl in any space specifically designated for us. Let's continue to speak out and raise awareness so that women's rights can be fully restored. I just want to briefly thank Karen Davis of YouTube channel, You're Kidding Right, for sharing my story on her channel. I also want to thank Joey Bright of YouTube channel, Can I Get a Witness Voices, and Kelly J. Keene for giving me a platform to tell my story. Thank you.
Can you just say your line one more time? What is it? Pinky promise.
Oh. Transgender ideology states that we women need to continue to allow men in our spaces to keep them from killing themselves. I guess that means they pinky swear not to kill themselves if they can see us undress or be around us when they whip it out.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. Thank you so much. Okay, so we'll say it again, and I'll let you speak. Obviously, this is Let Women Speak, so that's it's on the tin. So, as a reminder, women don't have penises. There's no such thing as non-binary. No man has a vagina. And transitioning children is abuse. I feel it needs saying often. Okay, this event is called Let Women Speak, so I will let a woman speak. Wow.
Thank you. And thank you guys all for sticking it out for as long as we have through all the madness today.
Oh, you're very welcome.
We're not wussies. We are standing like women.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So long, farewell.
I'm going to say goodbye
to you and you and you and you and you. I don't want to go. Women will speak.
Women will speak. Women will speak. Women will speak.
Women will speak.
Oh my goodness, I almost feel guilty that it's quiet. I'm going to try and make this quick before they make a comeback. All right. I'm going to read this because I can never memorize it. I'm not much of a public speaker. I was a girl. I am a woman, a daughter, a sister, a wife, a mother, and an aunt. These words have meaning. When I was little, I too wanted to run in the yard with no shirt on as the boys and the sons and the brothers did, but I could not because I was a girl. I climbed trees, rode bikes, fished, built tree houses, played in the dirt, rode horses, danced, and sang. As a girl, I was constantly in trouble for talking too much. When I was pregnant with my first child, I learned that in this country in the early 2000s, we had one of the highest maternal morbidity and mortality rates of any other developed nation. The highest rates of medical intervention. One intervention leads to another, until birth becomes a system of medical experiments putting mother and baby at greater risk. This can be traced back over 600 years before we came across the Great Pond, when men pushed the midwives out and declared them witches, tortured them, executed them, and burned them all so that they could practice their medicine. They are still practicing their medicine. They're using women and children's bodies and minds in their experimental practices. The ideological capture of our medical, mental, and educational institutions has led us to a new wave of experiments. Experiments where our education system purposely drives a wedge between children and their parents. They tell them that we can't be trusted. They are just empowering them to be their authentic selves. They teach them to separate from us, whispering in their ears, convincing them that their parents, their mothers, are the enemy. Their mothers, the only person whose heartbeat they have ever heard from the inside. They prey on our vulnerable children, the intelligent, bright, artistic kids that aren't fitting in, the weird kids who are disassociating from their bodies and disassociating from their sex bodies from not being accepted by their peers. They praise the disassociation and love bomb them. By the time parents become aware, our children's names and pronouns have already been changed behind our backs. They've convinced our children to fight for their supposed emancipation. They've taught them the script, handed them the instructions under the guise of empowerment. Our children have already seemingly willingly signed up to be practiced and experimented on. They have taught the children to accept grown adults of the opposite sex into their same sex spaces. The parents who stand up against this system face legions of enemies. Your child's teachers, school counselors, administrators, other parents, mental health care providers, and the entirety of the internet, and even their pediatrician, shouting at you that if you do not affirm and assist your child's disassociation, your child will kill themselves, and it will be your fault. The narrative then captures the parents believing, affirming the disassociation is the best, most loving thing to do to save their child's lives. There are those of us who see through this. Parents saying no. Parents saying no to interventions that lead to interventions that lead to interventions. Mothers saying no. Be your smart, talented, bright, weird self. Cut your hair, change your clothes, climb trees, ride bikes, dance, sing. But do not let them convince you that there is anything wrong with you, that there is anything wrong with your body. The institutions know that they stand to profit billions of dollars off of these children. Parents, mothers, and women are again declared witches. This time we are called TERFs. They are not yet burning us, but they are silencing us. They are harassing, threatening our livelihood. They beat, crush our bones, take our children, and torture us. I am a woman. I am an adult human female, and I am still in trouble for talking too much. I am a mother and I am saying no. No child is born in the wrong body. No men in any women's or girls' private sex separated spaces. No. No is a complete sentence. You can abuse, beat, and torture me, attempt to force me into silence, but I will never stay silent. I will fight for women's liberation and children's safeguarding till my dying breath. Please repeat after me. Parents say no. Parents say no. Fathers say no. Fathers say no. Mothers say no. Mothers say no. Women say no. Women say no. Thank you, Kelly, for having us today. If we all stand together, we will win. Thank you.
Do another addition, little amendment of your own.
Okay, just real quick, since I already spoke, I just want to convey a few messages about what the tone has been like out here and amend something I said earlier. There have been a ton of tourists here at the Lincoln Memorial today on this beautiful, beautiful day. And they saw what happened. They saw these people scream and chant and try to shout us down. I said earlier that the park police were here and were doing nothing. Then they did. I want to just make a point for women having future events like this. In the application process for the permit, there was a question, which was, do you anticipate any disruption of your event? I answered that question, yes. And I had an interview with the permit people, and they asked me to explain it. And I did my best to do that. But the problem is, at that time, the park police didn't take this threat seriously because they didn't understand. They didn't know. They do not, law enforcement generally does not understand what threats women are under all over the world, especially in the United States, but they're starting to. And so for women who are having future events of this nature, please do your best to make sure your local law enforcement or federal, as applies here, this is the U.S. Park Police, make sure they understand the level of threat. Show them video of previous events. And I do just also really want to commend the U.S. Park Police for really standing up and protecting women and girls here today. So thanks, everyone. Who else?
They're resisting. Okay. My turn?
No. Just so everyone knows, it appears that the lunatics who despise us resisted against the park police. The U.S. Park Police are chasing them out of the grounds of... They're literally on foot. The park police are chasing the lunatics off the grounds of the Lincoln Memorial. This is just stunning. Okay, Jen.
Over to Jen. Yeah. Getting back to Jen in the studio. Keep going. I'm just mesmerised by your quick reporter mode. I'm going to put that right here, and you go here. Because you didn't talk in.
I'll be quick. I'll be quick. So yeah, I'm Jennifer Thomas. Thank you, Kelly J, for creating this platform all over America so that we can all step up and say what we want to say. I've been all over the country and I talk to everybody. I love talking to people. So I ask, I say, hey, what do you think of that gender stuff?
right? I just say I will literally talk to anyone. And about 2 years ago, it was iffy if I was going to get someone to, someone arguing with me. But the past 6 months, every time I ask people, hey, what do you think of Will Thomas, ruining women's sports? They're with us. They can't stand it. What it looks like on the ground is 90% of the people are with us. Tomorrow, we're going to see a sweep because people are in the Pennsylvania legislature. There's a bunch of moms in there that are getting harassed by their school board. People are sick of this, and they're going to show how sick of it they are tomorrow. And whether you're a Democrat or Republican, we know the Democrats, they're lying. They're bought and paid for by the gender industry. The Republicans probably are too, but not as much. So that's really the deal. That's the deal right there. We don't know what to expect with the Republicans, but the Democrats, we know for certain that, Biden has that EO and he wants to remove the rights and privacy of women and girls, and he wants to transition our children. So it's a no-brainer. Good luck tomorrow, and I'm glad I was here in DC, so I get to say hi to Posey one more time. And I'll be in Philly on the 13th. So thank you, and thank you, Posey.
Oh, you're very welcome. Well, our documentary film crews, all the journalists and everyone are running through the park. It was just left to old Journo Dansky with the Washington something Chronicle, I reckon, maybe with the Turf Chronicle or the Washington Turf to report on the incidents live as they were evolving. So who else would like to speak? Because you will be heard. I would love you to. That's for you to hold.
Okay.
This is the really important one because that's mine.
Oh, okay. Oh.
That's Amy's.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Amy. Hello, everyone. My name is Joy Gray. I'm from near Washington, D.C. I'm a victim advocate. So that's originally why I started coming out to these events, because I went back to school and realized that there was no such thing as a women's room anymore. And that's very problematic for many women. And I had a Muslim woman tell me about this, and it just launched this path that led me to a motorcycle van trip across the United States, 21,000 miles plus traveled in 2021, primarily talking to people. So my message is for all women that if you feel disempowered, if you don't feel like you can come out to these events, even though I think every woman should that can, because they're fun, you can use your voice, you can meet amazing women. But even if you don't feel comfortable or you can't come out, talk. Never stop talking. You never know who you're going to reach. You never know what message is gonna snowball from who you're speaking to. I found out that someone that I had spoken to just casually through a friend of a friend who wanted to know more information ended up passing on a lot of what I talked to her about to a sheriff that was in the town, who talked to someone that was a lawmaker. So a lot of this is about giving people words, giving people showing the example of this is how we speak about these things in a really honestly neutral way. Because personally, I don't care what you believe. I just don't want to there's just no way that you can make me believe it. And when you come from it from that point of view, a lot of people are willing to listen to you. So while online it's super divisive, I really want to encourage you to go out in your community and talk to people, whether it's the gas station attendant or someone from your school board or a friend that you have, anyone. Just say how you feel, be honest, and be surprised with the results that you get from that, because I really think this is a solidarity movement between and among women. So never lose your voice, never stop using it, and thank you, KJK, for having me on.
You're very welcome. So nice to see you. Okay, who else would like to speak? I should have one more shout out, and then I'll shut up, but I don't have to. It's just not enough, is it? Twice is not. Come on. Twice is not enough.
I know, I'm so sorry.
It's all right.
So I just want to give a quick shout out to our friend who is selling plastic water bottles here at the Lincoln Memorial. This man has been standing up for us. He's wearing a t-shirt that says Hogwarts alumni. He's been standing up talking about the importance of women's right to free speech. Kelly J's trying to get him to address us.
I'm
cook, man.
You need to be on cat.
That's kind of crazy. That's super wild.
You gonna speak?
Yeah, I suppose so. I suppose so. You know, I saw, what was it, the women's freedom of speech. I saw them giving going ahead holding the rally. We'll call them, I don't know whether we'll call them, but some people came up trying to counter them for doing nothing, which was messed up. And you know, I support the cause and just the fact they were already, people come bother them. And the police have no problem with this. But what the police do have, like as of right now, real time, the Fed just told me he was going to lock me up for selling water. And so he said he's giving me a break. He's giving me a break by not locking me up because I told him, hold up, chill out, man. He tried to rush a customer. He told her this was a crime to purchase water at the Lincoln. So, you know, we've been doing it. We still doing it. And I don't know, man. It's just like most things I feel like in this country, like by the time the majority of the country it's going to go on for some time. But when the majority of the country finds out about it, you read the history, that's the end of it. You know the history. So, you know, hey, man, one cause to the next. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
We love your t-shirts. It's J.K. Rowling
I
stood
got
up
it
for
from
women.
Target. It's the crate, but they said, yeah, I heard about the reference.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, who's next? Normally we do like women last. Who wants to speak? Come on. You can do it. Thank you so much.
So I was out to dinner with a friend recently, and I was talking about the politics of some of this, and she said, well, I just don't agree with you with anything you're saying. And then she went on to say some things that inspired the writing of this pamphlet that was put out by the TERF Collective. And it's called People May Call You a TERF, because she proceeded to name all the things that we believe. And so I wrote, people may call you a TERF if you think women should get to keep their sports, if you think it's not fair for male-bodied people who identify as transgender to compete with women, with females in women's sports. If you care about women's safety, which she also said she did, and you believe that men should not be housed in women's prisons or allowed in women's locker rooms, restrooms, or other single-sex spaces. She also agreed that she's worried that non-transgender men could take advantage of transgender policies to enter women's spaces, to view or attempt to film women, or to commit other sex crimes or sexual assault. You may also be a TERF if you have concerns about transition or child transition. If you're concerned about making lifelong medical decisions for children that lead to sterility and they needing hormones the rest of their life, and also to sexual dysfunction. You may also be a TERF if you have concerns about lesbian and gay rights. If you feel that lesbian and gay men should be able to have a sexual preference for dating only people of the same biological sex. And finally, if you just believe in biological reality, you may be a TERF. You know that taking hormones and getting surgery does not change someone's biological sex, which is encoded in the DNA of every cell of their body. And you know that as mammals, we are sexually dimorphic, with real immutable biological differences between the sexes, stemming entirely from our distinct reproductive roles. I just want to thank everyone for being here. It took a lot of courage for everyone. And like Kelly J says, we will win.
Woo! Thank you very much. Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay, I'll wrap up. Right. I can't put myself in the center of my own lens. So we had an interesting day. I think it can be, it's fair to say. I thank each and every one of the deranged trans activists for coming. They help peak just a few more people every time they show up. I do genuinely, there's a real marked difference between the female so-called trans activists and the male trans activists. And the other people that turn up, there's a lot of females that champion these men, that talk more about trans women, so-called trans women, i.e. men, than they do about anybody else. some of the men come dressed as women. But while some of those men just look like nasty, violent, horrible, just any excuse and they'll hit you men, there's always a particularly clinically insane young woman. And I don't mean that in some sort of hyperbole, nasty, vicious way of describing her, but I mean genuinely really troubled, very unhinged young women. And I think that there is a mental health crisis around this particular movement. And I think what it does is it sucks in some really vulnerable girls, and we have to, if for nothing else, we have to stop this so that those girls have a chance of healing and getting better. So we came here to say women don't have penises. I believe we said it. We came here to say there's no such thing as non-binary. I believe we also said that. I think we had a smattering of men don't have vaginas. And we definitely had transitioning children as abuse. We will continue to speak. I have talked to, and lefty women, you're not going to like this, and I'm going to say it anyway. I have talked to conservatives, lefty, and women who have no political affiliation. I'm telling you, the most difficult women to reach across the aisle are women on the left. And by doing that, what you're doing is you're giving up this fight to men on the right. So if you want women, particularly women on the left, but just plain old women, you know, the old-fashioned kind with vaginas, the real ones, if you want plain old women, us, our voices to be those that are heard above all else, then you have to support working across the aisle. You have to think first and foremost, we are women. The things that divide us are secondary. First and foremost, we are women. Every time you castigate a woman for talking from the left to the right, for standing with other women, you basically hand this argument over to men on the right. And those men on the right, they don't have the same interests as we do. They don't want the same things for women as we do because they're just not women. So I personally am happy for anybody to speak up, but the people that should be charging this fight are those of us with the greatest risk, and that is women. This is our fight. Men, you can come along, but please, for God's sake, you walk behind. So I think we're doing a fine job here today. If you can put aside the differences and you can focus your eyes on the prize, then I promise we will win. If you can ensure that when you have an opportunity to come out, and the 13th of this month is Philadelphia, look on standingforwomen.com for events, for any information. If you want to donate to our documentary, which is going to be the story of women in this struggle, then it's standingforwomen.com/documentary. If you can put divisions aside, if you can just keep your eyes on the prize, if you can look at trans activists and laugh in their silly faces, I promise we will win. And do you know why else we're going to win? Because I never lose. Welcome to the cult. There we go. Oh, Jennifer's.
Okay, well, that was a wonderful event. Hey, Alex, Aaron in the chat. Love seeing
Hi, Alex.
Gender Mapper in the house.
Yes, I'll just briefly say we did shout out Alex yesterday in the chat. And if you haven't seen the Gender Mappers resource, please go and check that out. You need that in your back pocket when you're having this discussion with people. Gender Mapper. Go ahead, Amy. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Not at all. I just want to reflect on this event. We'll bring up. I'm going to bring in Kelly K as well. I'm gonna leave these pictures in the background so we can see how they're dispersing and wrapping up. Oh, and Alex is back too. Great. Okay, perfect. Everyone's back. So this was a really special event to see. What an epic location. I love both of these shots that we're getting of the memorial on one side and the beautiful monument on the other side. How epic and how wonderful that there was some actual police intervention. What? I'm so shocked and amazed. And it looked like, I don't know if everyone was following along on the left side of the screen, but it did look like there were some actual arrests being made. So that was really wonderful to see, because these, as we were observing, the participation of these so-called TRAs is not benign. They are not benign in what they are doing. They're not simply standing and making their own chants. They are using a number of different tactics, which is sound assault. They are violating boundaries by encroaching on our spaces, getting in front of our mic, walking in front of women who are speaking. So they are highly aggressive in how they are interacting with women. And I am not sure why the arrest was made. I'm guessing it might have been for the noise violation.
Now, the noise, it's interesting. The noise, again, we're going to keep on pointing out that this is audio assault. This is sonic warfare. These are tactics that are often deployed in military settings. These are tactics usually deployed by the police for crowd control. So usually if there's a big riot or demonstration somewhere, the police will make this type of sound through like a LRAD device, and it's meant to break up the crowd and get everybody away. Now, this is these TRAs and these, whoever they say they are, these people who want to silence and drown out the voices of women are using these same type of tactics. So I don't know what the law is, and I know it changes from place to place, but there's been a lot of comments in the chat like, how are they allowed to do this? Isn't it illegal to have the sound up that high? Like, why aren't the police doing anything about the sound? So we don't know if the arrest today happened because of the sound or if there was some other altercation there, but we will be finding out. If we don't find out while the stream is continuing, we will be updating on that later. But we have both in the studio with us, we have Kelly K from Rad Femmes United, and we have Alex, aka Pinwheel Art, two of our incredible women warriors who organized and led the way down in Miami at the Speakers Corner that happened on Saturday. Kelly and Alex, welcome. I would love to hear your reactions from what we just witnessed today.
And the biggest thing that, I'm sorry, Amy, go ahead.
I just wanted to, I observed that I know Alex has to leave momentarily.
Oh, okay.
So I
go ahead, Alex. Sorry about it.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I do have to run out and grab some kids from school. So I just wanted to say, it's great to see when the police actually do their jobs. They did a great job in Florida. They were standing across the street. We had one, and then they multiplied. We turned around, and there was like a bunch more. So it's good to see when they're actually standing up for us and protecting our constitutional right to peaceably assemble and have our free speech. I don't understand why they are not doing their jobs in other cities. I guess, of course, there has been some contention with the police in various places, but this was good to see. They got it taken care of, and the women were able to speak. We were able to hear them, and I really appreciated it, everybody's hard work in getting that taken care of.
Thank you so much, Alex. Before you go, do you want to shout out any of your team in Miami that helped make the Speakers Corner possible?
Yeah, I'd love to shout out my team. We had VF555, who's always in the chats, and she did amazing work hyping everybody up. We had Not Your Jade, or the deaf bartender. She's on, I think, mostly Instagram, and she does some great work calling people out, and makes wonderful posts, and is always calling people in to, respond to others on these crazy posts that other people make about the trans ideology. And then we had Christina from Colorado come and join us. She has a YouTube channel. Oh, I don't remember the full name of it.
Oh,
But
Christina Goki, right?
yes, Christina Goki. Hold on a second.
Oh,
Baby's call.
yeah.
Yes, everyone, this is the real grassroots here.
Real moms in real action. I
Mhm.
love it. I love it. Two best jobs, being a mom and being an activist.
I don't know, Alex, if you can hear us. I know that she's getting ready to leave. Alex, do you want to give your final words before you leave so we don't get cut off in a weird way before we switch over to Kelly?
Yeah, I just want, Christina Goki and Shelby was magnificent. She's given some wonderful speeches. She's brilliant, very level-headed, and speaks facts. And I love her. And hopefully I'm not forgetting everybody, but it was a great team. Everybody did their part. Everybody has different skills, and it's amazing to see when women come together and aren't attacking each other. Like, we really need to stop that. Like, we have to stop attacking each other and criticizing all these events. Constructive criticism is one thing. We need that, but we do not need to be attacking each other and acting like we're doing it wrong, because we're all just doing the best with what we have. Like, we're all just trying to speak out and be heard and express ourselves and end this nonsense. Like, we want it to stop. Like, take us out of this nightmare. I know everyone feels the same. So, but I'm going to mute myself again and say goodbye so I can run and grab some kids from school.
All right.
Okay, thank you so
for
much.
having me.
Bye, Alex.
Here.
Bye.
Bye. Yay. So just so you know, friends, we're not we're not getting sound. They've turned their mics off, so we're leaving these up on screen. I saw some women asking if we could hear Kara.
My profession. I was in the room when the head of the ACLU, a man, said to the head of the American Legislative Exchange Council, also a man, I am excited to work with you on this topic. So they do it all the time. So, it's not as though feminists in America are like having lunch with Republicans on a daily basis or something like that. It's like occasional strategic alliances have been made when necessary to get work done. I have been happy to make common cause with some conservative organizations and individuals who are in the system, who know how the system works, who know how to make change. Now, as I said in my talk, which nobody could hear because we were getting shouted at by lunatics earlier today, that doesn't mean anything goes. And one of the things I said in my talk that I gave here at the Lincoln Memorial today is that if someone is a neo-Nazi, I don't want them in this fight. If someone is a member of the Proud Boys, I don't want them in this fight. That's a very different thing from working strategically with people who understand how politics works in America.
What do you see as the future? What's going to happen? Tell me about the midterms. How do you think tell me about in that context?
So in terms of the midterms, voting is tomorrow. Early voting's been underway for a while. We're here on November 7th at the Lincoln Memorial. I would have said before June that it will absolutely be a Republican.
Well, I'm going to let that be. What do you think?
Yeah, let's let that be. I think she's speaking with a reporter, it sounds like.
Okay, good. Good. I put it on and then I was like, I think we want to move past from that. Okay, good.
Okay, so here in the studio with us right now, we have Kelly Kay. She is the founder of Rad Femmes United. If you are not following Radical Feminists United on Instagram, you need to. That's where I follow. Kelly, where else can people follow you?
For people who have a Facebook, I do have a couple private groups. I think that works out pretty well because people are more open to talking in those private groups. So I have a Radical Feminists United page on Facebook for only women, and I also have a Radical Feminists United and Allies, so that people can also join in on the conversation and give us support. My biggest platform right now is Instagram. That's where most people are able to reach me, and my Twitter platform is just starting.
All right. And Kelly Kay is a dedicated Rad Femme, as I said, founder of Rad Femmes United. If you're just joining and you didn't catch earlier, she is a former paratrooper. She's based in Jacksonville, Florida. and she's been attending speakers corners around the country. She left the military about a year ago, and since then she's dedicated her time to speaking out on this issue, particularly exercising her First Amendment rights, talking specifically about safeguarding for children, sex-based rights for women, and she uses her platform to educate the public on the harms of trans ideology. And earlier, in the beginning of the show, she spoke a little bit about the type of sexism that female service members face in the military, including sexual assault. She spoke about a recent case where a woman was murdered, and she spoke about how women in the military are being silenced and labeled extremists if they try to speak out on men sharing their private spaces, including showers and bathrooms. Kelly, could you give a little recap or anything else you want to say that you didn't say earlier about what women in the military are facing?
Let's see. I think just honestly trying to get as many voices as possible, because I only have from my experience, like what I had gone through in the military and the things that I had seen and how the transgender policies are affecting us negatively. But being able to bring other women's stories into this is so important to have them heard. I also think it's very important too, like you said, to make sure that we have that support. Like, women come first, but we also need those males. They're a majority of the military. Like, have this back. I've got a handful of a couple male friends that I actually served with who have attended a couple of these events and everything in support. And so there are people in the military, there are men who know that this is fucked up and wrong. And just people really need to band together, because this is just asinine that we're literally having to sacrifice our sex-based rights. And children are literally being groomed and mutilated and drugged, and none of it's okay, and we shouldn't have to stand for this. And whenever I watch any of these speakers corners, it's so clear to see who is on the right side of history. It is so obvious. Like, you see these women just giving great points, awesome valid arguments, like evidence, everything, and then on their side all we get is just scare tactics and screaming in their faces and just trying to silence them. It's so obvious who's on the right side of history, and I hope that more people join on this side.
Absolutely. We know that women are being silenced across all sectors of society. We know that this is sexism. We know that this entire agenda does not benefit women, that this is explicitly on the backs of the exploitation of our female bodies and especially our female reproductive capacities. Amy, I want to hear from you what you thought a little about what we witnessed, because today was a little bit different than the other days. And I think you had a little bit more information about what was going on the ground there. Maybe let's all give our feedback on what we witnessed today.
Sure. I thought it was, we saw, as I mentioned earlier, we saw some very similar tactics. I cannot shout out enough Becky, who is AKA Strange Casio on Twitter.
Yeah, she's usually here with us in the chat. You all should recognize her handle.
She was doing some great work on sound. So this is the sound that we hope to have at the next couple events. We hope to get this level of sound, but you'll notice that when she was talking, or when her sound took over, it was a marked difference, and you could still hear the background, but we were picking up the speakers really well. Now, as I also said, we were seeing very similar tactics that we see. This is a boundary violation movement. That's what that's the values. So the overarching values of this movement are about boundary violation, but we also literally physically see it in action as they encroach on us from all sides, attempt to get in our faces, around speakers, in our personal space. You don't see us doing this to them. We actually don't want to be near them, but they are always coming into our space and encroaching on that. I was really happy and surprised to see the responsiveness of the park police. That is not something that we always see, and they were ignoring it at first. So I don't know if they had enough pushback or if it was disrupting the tourists. So because this is a highly touristed location, so this does not look good for them to have this kind of an altercation on what is a very beloved national tourist site. So I don't know if that is why they finally decided to come and intervene. But I also note that, and I think you said this, Kay Yang, that they no longer do their chants. So they are not trying to come in with some sort of counter message. They're not coming in even with their usual mantras of, trans women are women. That they did not even attempt to come in with those mantras. They are going straight to these noise devices. So it's hilarious because they just absolutely have nothing to offer. They have nothing to say. They simply are creating a disruption and making a multitude of attempts to silence women. Now, these compared to what we saw in Portland, compared to what I saw in Port Townsend, compared to what we saw in Tacoma, these people were not very organized. So they seem to have all showed up together, but they were not acting in a concerted, organized manner, like the way that we saw the Antifa acting in Tacoma, which was very communicative. They were all communicating with each other and organizing with each other. These seemed more like just a disparate group that kind of came together. They didn't really seem to be acting in a strategic, organized way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I did notice as well, like they are a mess. And also if I had been there on the ground, I would have suggested that our women group up tighter together. It's really important when you're going out and doing a public demonstration like this, you've got to claim space and make a clear boundary. This is where we are. This is the space that our women are claiming with our bodies and our signs. Here is the boundary. Stay over there. And that helps as well when you're negotiating with law enforcement or security people of buildings. You can say, well, this is where we are. This is where we're permitted to be, or this is where we're legally allowed to be on a public space. They are encroaching us now. So, setting up a strong boundary is really important, and not getting intermingled and intermixed with these people, because that's what can create a dangerous situation as well. Like we saw in Tacoma, where everyone was just kind of very split up, and individual women were getting surrounded by groups of men and trans activists. But yeah, I think that their little chants and the little mantras of trans women are women and trans liberation now, nobody's listening to them. Nobody really cares outside of their small sector of people. Even a lot of other people who would call themselves allies to LGBT, they're not listening to that. So it's like is this kind of a good thing? They're a little bit demoralized with their chants, and that's good. And we have a lot of really great chants. I like to hear "Let Women Speak," but we need to come up with other chants as well. There's lots of chants that women have used. I like things that take a power stance. Let women speak. It's important, and it was born out of a specific incident that happened in the UK. But also, we're not begging for anything. We're not begging. We're telling. We're demanding. We are stating. We don't. Let's not put ourselves in a begging or victim stance. So there's a lot of chatter going on in this chat room, across the internet. There's a lot of disagreements that women are having. I'm not going to ignore that, though I don't want it to become the central focus of this talk today. But I do think, it's so important that we keep on making these spaces and talking, because myself, I have completely different background, different beliefs than Amy Sousa. I have completely different background, different beliefs than Kelly Kay, completely different background and beliefs than Alex. And that's okay. That's okay that we have different beliefs about things. My beliefs are very unique. If I shared my beliefs with you all, my beliefs probably do not align with anyone in this chat at all, and I'm still here. And I think it's important that we continue to come together across our differences and focus on the things that we do agree upon. And the reality is, no one has an ownership over this conversation. Not one person, not one group of people, not one party, not one religion, not one ideology, not even one sex. No one owns this conversation. Anyone can speak about this. And as this issue continues to get more attention, not necessarily in the media, but more attention from the masses of people in America that are waking up to realize this is going on, more and more voices are going to be flooding this conversation. So, and they're going to have different viewpoints, and they're going to be saying a lot of things that we don't agree with. So if we can keep focused on the issue that women are being oppressed on the basis of our sex, and that children are being harmed, and that their safeguarding is important, those are the two things that all of us can agree on. And we know that this issue is going to get used by talking heads in the media. We know they use it all the time. It's used on the left. It's used on the right. It's used by every politician. The parties are trying to sway us this way, sway us that way. We know that. Just keep true to what you know and what you believe, and understand that all women have a say in this. All women have a stake. All women and girls deserve protection on the basis of our sex, no matter what they believe, no matter where they're from, no matter what they look like or what they think. All women and girls need to be protected and defended, and we need to hold that truth at the center of everything. And we can argue about the other stuff later. I've got a lot to say too. We've all got a lot to say. But we let's focus on the things that can unite us.
Yeah, I love that, Kay Yang, because I think that I love that word, centering and uniting. I did want to say to people who are joining the chat, we have just been with women in Washington, D.C., who are standing up for women's right to free speech, women's right to talk about boundaries around their bodies, sex-based safeguarding, protecting non-conforming kids from unnecessary medicalization and sterilization. So this is the topic of the conversation. And I do think that women's rights and sex-based safeguarding have to be central to all of our conversations. We need to constantly be recentering the conversation around that. There's a lot of disparate opinions that we're going to have about tactics and strategies. Those conversations are important. It's very hard to have them in a moving chat online, but they are conversations that we need to be having more deeply and in person. I also saw, yes, I was just going to mention this. There are absolutely conversations that we need to be having about race as well, deeply and in person, because again, this is about centering all women and sex-based safeguarding. And we do have to keep in mind that many of our most marginalized women are bearing the brunt of this. And this is women of color. This is lesbians. This is women who are incarcerated. So this needs to be, again, central to what we are saying and speaking about. We can't avoid these conversations, and we have to know that we may have disagreement. We may have moments of friction. This may happen, but I hope, I know that in my personal relationship with Kay Yang, what I have learned is that I hope that as we have these conversations, we can grow from it. And as long as we have that central focus and organization of knowing who we are centering and why, I think that there's a lot of that friction that will naturally melt off because we know that we have common purpose. And if we keep that common purpose grounded and centralized, I think those conversations can get really complicated and even spicy, and it can be okay.
Yes. And another important thing is we need to be pointing the finger up higher than we are now. This, like, yes, do what you want and what you must do on your local level, at your state level, whatever you want to do, however you want to politically engage with the system, that's your choice. But we need to look higher than that because this is coming from down on higher than just the US government. Again, we need to keep on naming the United Nations in this. We do not get to vote on whether the US is part of the United Nations. We have no say in that. We have no say in what the World Economic Forum is doing. We can't vote for these people. We can't vote for who owns the media. We can't vote for who owns Big Pharma. We don't have a say in those things. These things supersede our local, state, and national politics. So if we can look at the bigger enemies as well, the bigger common enemies, because they're there. They have names, they have faces, they have thousands of pages of documentation documenting how they've been taking away our rights. The United Nations changed the definition of gender to include gender identity in 2019, long before Biden's executive order ever went into place. So why did the executive order even pass? Well, probably because of a lot of the pushing from the UN that these policies be implemented on a national level, because these policies are being pushed in 193 countries around the world through the UN alone. Now they're being pushed in other countries through other policies and other governing bodies. So, you know, this is a huge deal. There are bigger fish to fry, and we can fight about partisan stuff all we want. It's not going to change who's above that.
Yeah, and I think, you know, anyone who's read some Noam Chomsky or Chris Hedges or even Mary Daly kind of goes into this in her own way. You know, you can vote for the left, you can vote for the right, but you can't not vote for the corporations that are backing both of those parties. As Kay Yang said, you can't not vote for the UN. You can't not vote for Exxon. You can't not vote for Google. You can't not vote for Twitter. You can't not vote for big tech. You can't avoid voting for big media. So the note, I don't want women to get, as Kay Yang said, we have to think bigger, because this notion of our voting, it's very insular, and it gives us a kind of a cognitive dissonance. And I want everyone to be mindful of that, because it gives us this notion that we have power, and that we are making choices, and that it makes us responsible for this choice. And absolutely, Chris Hedges talks about this in Empire of Illusion. He talks about this in his On Contact podcast as well. It gives us this feeling, this internal feeling that our vote is doing a thing, and it also makes us complicit in the actions that our politicians do, when in fact these are things that we never voted for. So this is not that we can't have a conversation about politics, but I think, as Kay Yang says, we have got to think much bigger, and we have got to keep our critiques pointed up, pointed up, pointed up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and on about Chris Hedges, he may be choosing not to cover this now, but 5 years ago, he did do an interview that's really important with Maya Dillard-Smith and Mary Lou Singleton. So if you haven't seen that interview, please check that out. You might not even be able to watch it anymore because it was on RT, and I know that all of RT's media, Russia Today's media, got blocked on YouTube, but actually it is here. Chris Hedges has it posted. It would suck if he doesn't want to cover this issue anymore, and that might be the case, but please go and see that video. And then, you know, yes, we all have differences on strategy and tactics, and also on how we should engage when we're in public. We absolutely have differences. You know, I encourage that when you are organizing an action, no matter where it is, get with a group of people that you are all on the same page and make agreements about what you're going to do ahead of time. And that's going to keep everybody safe, because if everyone comes to the table having different agreements about what they're going to do, that's when chaos ensues, right? And it's okay that people want to do things differently, but maybe like we do different things in different spaces at different times to cut down on the chaos and tension. So these are just thoughts for moving forward. I know for this particular tour, it all just kind of got thrown on us the last minute. Women are jumping to doing whatever they can, coming out of their, you know, taking their own time, energy, money, and just coming forward, trying to make these happen for visibility's sakes. But we're learning a lot, right? We're learning a lot. A lot of really important questions are coming up. A lot of really important ideas are coming up, terms that you may have never heard of before. So, and be vigilant. Do not just accept something because you heard me or anyone else say it. I don't care if I said it, or if Amy said it, or if Kelly said it.
Well,
or
if I
Kelly
said it, though.
well, unless if Amy Sousa said it. But don't just take these terms that you're hearing and just take something and run with it. Do your own research. Be diligent. Don't wait for other women to make an opinion for you. Kelly K, I would like to hear your opinion, because I know in the military there are a lot of women come together from different backgrounds, and then you all get shoved in the same space. And I've heard from other women that can be difficult as well for women to get along there. Like, what are your thoughts? It doesn't even have to be about the military, but generally, what are your thoughts about how we can come together across our differences and divides?
I think honestly, the big thing is always remembering what side you're on, and we're on the side of safeguarding children and demanding women's sex-based rights, and we are not each other's enemies. Like you said, the enemies are the corporations, the government, everything that's above us right now. We need to be fighting against that. Put like all of our things aside. I understand that we'll all have different beliefs and everything, but we all need to come together on this one, because that's literally exactly what they're trying to do to us. They're trying to divide us. This is exactly what they want. As soon as we start getting big, they want us to start nitpicking at each other and start falling apart and disintegrating. And we can't let that happen. We have to band together, and we have to make sure that we have our voices heard, that we demand our sex-based rights, and that children are safeguarded. We are all on the same team right now.
Absolutely. And that's such an important point that you are saying, is that they want us divided. Okay, we're talking about strategy and tactics. Do you know what the other side's strategies and tactics are? They're playing the long game. They have all the information. They have everything that we type in these chats, every video that we put up, every tweet we send, whether it's private or not. They have your DMs. There's access to all of that. These algorithms are going through all day long, collecting information that is being given to companies who what all they do is analyze information. Then those companies are contracted by corporations, by the US government, by other governments, by private entities. Those corporations are contracted, and then that data is used so that they can come up with strategies and solutions on how to better defeat us. And the easiest way to defeat us is to have us defeat each other.
Yeah, a million %. Let's underline that. That is so true. You know, and the more women, I think the more that we can be having these conversations with one another and challenging one another's analysis on things, I think the more deeply we can come to our own analysis about our own position as being exploited members of the culture. And I think it's worth underlining that there is a global literal profit in the terms of trillions and trillions of dollars being made from exploiting women's reproductive capacities. This is in surrogacy. This is in porn. This is in trafficking. This is in prostitution. This is in the birth and abortion industries. The medicalization of women's bodies for profit is also in industries, even in giving your birth to a baby in a hospital. There is profit from big pharma, from selling the byproducts of women's birth. So we have to really be looking at all of these areas in which our reproductive capacity is exploited for the profit of our governments. And there is no global government that is immune from taking part in the exploitation of women's bodies for their own GDP.
That's right.
And we have to, we cannot imagine it's elsewise, and there is no vote left or right that will stop that from happening. That is why we have to go against the system in a much bigger capacity.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have to keep on pointing out that women have not had reproductive control and sovereignty for over 4,000 years, according to the historical and archaeological records. So the issue of women being exploited on the basis of our sex existed for thousands of years before this country even came into conception, before the UK even existed, before any of these countries that are producing women leaders right now, before these countries existed, our oppression was ongoing thousands of years. This system was created on women's oppression, and it's going to take a complete restructuring of the social order to really address this issue. And as a lot of you may have realized, there is a planned destruction of society happening right now across all levels. There is a global planned destruction of society. The medical system, the education system, everything is caving in right now. Even the military might even cave in if they keep on pushing this type of policies on their female service people. Right? Because how many service people in the military are women? Do you know, Kelly? Is there a
Oh gosh, what is the
stat
percentage? I know that at least when I was in the airborne community, we were only about 2% was females. As far as the entirety, I think it's just the teens.
Wow. Okay. So that's really interesting that there is such a small amount of women in the military, and they're pushing this there. They're pushing it in the military. They're pushing it on the police. It's interesting. They're pushing it on the people who could at any point be, could be enlisted to uphold these laws, these anti-woman laws, right? So what's going to happen when our female service people and female police are being told that they have to uphold anti-female laws? It's just going to be interesting as this continues, because again, this could be there could be an implosion being set up here. So, as they're bringing down society, we have to hold strong to the things that we know are right. We know that women deserve sex-based rights, whether it's in the context of this government, this law, or that law. Women deserve to be protected and safe on the basis of our sex, and children deserve to be safe. So we have to keep holding on to that, because they're going to try anything they can to get us to just tear each other down. There's people, I know people in the chat want to hear about some of my politics, but I'm going to save that for after this tour is over, so we don't cause too many.
We are gonna go into that, and I wanna just do, since I'm here in my office, I just went to get a couple of books. I wanted to speak to this point of Bobina's, and I do want to underscore, these are the conversation that we're opening up right now. These are the conversations that Kay Yang and I are going to continue to have with you. we are going to do more in-depth live streams where we can get into this, but I wanted to bring a couple of books up because I wanted to say that there are other cultures that we know that existed that did not exploit women's bodies for profit. And it's not like we can go back in history or back in time. We can't reverse the clock. We don't have a time machine, but what we can do is learn about these cultures, understand what worked about them, and use strategies and practices from these cultures. So I wanted to bring a couple books from a couple women. Peggy Reeves Sanday. This book is about female power and male dominance. And Peggy Reeves Sanday also has a number of essays about non-rape and low rape cultures. So she studies all kinds of cultures from the past, some of which still exist into this day, and looks at the strategies and tactics and power dynamics of cultures that were non-rape and low rape. There is something that people say, like rape is inevitable, and that prostitution is the quote oldest profession. Pimping is the oldest profession, but pimping is part of a patriarchy, and there are matrilineal cultures and other kinds of cultures that existed that did not do this. Now, I've only brought down a couple of books about these topics, but so Peggy Reeves Sanday covers this. Rain Ensler in the Chalice and the Brain, Chalice and the Blade, Blade, covers different women's cultures. I know Kay Yang, we talked about Maria Gambudis last week. Women of Prehistory by Margaret Earnhardt. When God Was a Woman by Merlin Stone. Gerda Lerner, Creation of the Patriarchy, and Esther Harding, The Way of All Women. All of these women have a number of books. I just grabbed a couple, but these are some of the information, some of the archaeology, anthropology, and history, a woman's history. We must be grounded in a women's history, a women's lineage.
Yes.
This is foundational to what we want to create. If we want to create change, we need to be familiar with these histories. So this is some of the grounding that we want to bring to women so that we can have much more in-depth conversations going forward, not just about this movement and this fight, but women's capacity for power and action on all levels.
Yeah, brilliant, Amy. Yes, thank you so much for all of that and the fabulous book recommendations. I hope you all were checking out the book recommendations and adding them to your list. And, if this is how they are erasing us right in front of our faces in real time, we can only imagine how much in the historical record has been erased of women in the past. Okay, I grew up, Amy, Kelly, you also probably grew up going to school. You would only hear about a woman if she was a wife or a maid or like a slave or a prostitute. Women didn't, in the education the public school education I was given in New York State, I would sit there and wonder, like, well, I guess women didn't do anything of importance or value. That's what I was taught as a young girl. We weren't in the historical record. It was only in my lifetime that I started to, see the messaging change in school, right? To say that, oh, women and girls can do things too, right? That's a new branding. And now, what, 10, 15 years later, now they say we don't exist. So if this is all what they're doing right in front of us, if this is the wool they're trying to pull over our eyes when our eyes are wide open, what have they done in the past? So it is important to be grounded in an understanding and a lineage of seeing how women's oppression has how oppression against women has looked over time, and also how women have responded and reacted and how they have resisted, because women are resilient. We are amazing. Women make up over half of the world. Women are the life bringers. Women, despite everything that has been done to keep us down, to silence us, to belittle us, to degrade us, to say we have no value, no worth, that we don't even exist now, we are still persisting. And keep your heads up, women, do, because we will win. I know we will win. And we might not win right away, and it might not look pretty, and we might lose a lot more before we win, but we will win, because this is right, and this is the natural order. And what they are doing is 100% wrong and goes against the natural order. It doesn't matter what background you come from. It doesn't matter what your beliefs. It doesn't matter your race, your class. It doesn't matter. Wrong is wrong. And we know that this is wrong, and we know that women will win. So keep your heads up. Keep coming to these chats. Keep speaking out. Support women like Kelly. Support Amy. Support the rest of the tour, please. If you can donate, please do. And thank you to all of the incredible women who have donated. I know that a lot of us are coming to the table. We're spending all of our own money doing this. So you are appreciated, and every little contribution counts. Everything counts right now. We're in the fight of our lives.
Absolutely.
I'll just stop, because I'm just gonna like da-da-da-da.
You're great. You're great.
I love your rants. You can keep going.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Should we, Kelly, do you want to add anything? I may open this to take a few calls.
I guess the only thing I really have to add is just thank you for all the women who are joining together to speak out and fight against this stuff. It is incredible to see the solidarity and women coming together. And thank you so much to all of our Florida feminists. You women are amazing. To all of them in the nation, and then also across the world. So women are coming together. We're a force to be reckoned with. Come join us. We know that we're on the right side of history. And also keep in mind too that if you are a female service member or veteran and you would like to discuss how transgender policies are negatively affecting females in the military, please be sure to write me a letter, and I will make sure that that gets heard. Just don't include any personal details or a return address. And that's all I've got. So Amy, thank you so much. Kay Yang, thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity, and thank you to all the women out there who are fighting for what's right.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kelly. And I'm putting your address in the chat again, so that if you are a servicewoman or you know a servicewoman, please encourage them to contact Kelly Kay. And just thank you so much for being here with us. It was an honor to have you. It was so great to meet you in Madison, Wisconsin at the Courage Calls to Courage event. And I'll just really quick personal thing is I heard Kelly say that she was in the 82nd Airborne Division, and I was like, oh my God, like I had just lost my grandpa recently, and he was in the 82nd Airborne Division. So I was just like, it just right away made me think like, I gotta go and like connect with this woman, just because like it's such a synchronicity. And even though like Kelly was in the military, I've been anti-militarism my entire life. That doesn't mean that we can't respect one another, appreciate one another, like one another. I really like Kelly. And it's okay that we have some different beliefs. That's totally fine. We need to normalize that, I think.
Yeah.
Normalize that women don't all think the same and we aren't one machine. But thank you so much, Kelly. Amy and I have just really appreciated having you here. You're a joy.
I appreciate you guys too. Thank you so much. I hope you guys have a great night.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you, Kelly.
I want to quickly address what Sibir said in the chat. I saw she put up there something about how Chris Hedges was supporting trans stuff back in 2017. And that's interesting because so a lot of you know, I was a former trans rights activist, and I was involved in a lot of a lot of radical organizing stuff around environmental issues, around supporting Indigenous land defense struggles, all kinds of different stuff. And I actually met Chris Hedges at an event where he and I debated privately about strategy and tactics around NVDA. So, and I won the debate by popular command of the room. But I should say, I was there and as a trans rights activist. I was still a TRA at that time when I was at the conference where I met Chris Hedges, and everybody else there at the conference with me also supported trans issues. So, you know, Saber's not wrong when she was saying that Chris used to support trans issues. I don't know that he does now. I know that he made that video with Mary Lou Singleton and Maya Dillard Smith. That interview itself, for if you can just delete Chris from it if you need to, and just listen to what those two women say. Listen to Mary Lou Singleton and Maya Dillard Smith on that. And you know, people change their minds. People can be changed and people can be swayed. If they couldn't, then we wouldn't even be doing this, because there'd be no point.
Yeah. As we're, I'm gonna keep it open for a call for some calls for maybe 20 more minutes. I think we're always gonna try to keep it under 3 hours if we can. And we're about 20 minutes. In 20 minutes, it will be 3 hours. So we'll take some calls if anyone wants to call. But I will underscore that, you know, there needs to, what we have seen, what I have seen, what Kay Yang and I have observed, and I think that some others of you are observing as we have been going through this tour, is that there is a need for a more organized community. There is a need for deeper and more complex conversations on these issues. We have met one another online, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on Instagram, whether it's on Facebook. We have met one another arguing with TRAs in the chats. We have met each other forming our analysis on this issue, on the issues of being gender critical, on the issues of protecting children from unnecessary medicalization, on the issue of protecting women's single-sex spaces and sex-based safeguarding. However, now is the time for deeper strategy, deeper organizing, a broadened history of women and our lineage and our history that is separate from the patriarchal history. All right, I'm gonna get this. Let's see here. Hello, welcome. You are on the line with Amy and Kay Yang. You can say your name and hello.
Hi, this is Lori from Iowa.
Hey, Lori, welcome.
Hi,
Thanks.
Lori.
Hi, I enjoyed watching the broadcast today. Thank you so much, Amy and Kay.
Thank you.
I was incensed at the beginning of this when the park police simply stood by. So I quit watching. I only have my phone. So I quit watching the broadcast and I called both of my senators.
Nice.
I had previously emailed both of them and I got a response back from one.
Wow.
So we need to speak up. Even those of us watching, if you're in a state where your senators may listen, for God's sakes, give them a call.
Absolutely.
If there's anything you need on any issue, well, call them, for crying out loud.
And Lori, even if they won't listen, right? Even if they don't want to listen, even if they don't want to hear it, that might be all the more reason for you to tell them and register your voice of non-consent.
Absolutely. I mean, that noise was an absolute assault, not just on the women, but everyone around that area. It should never have been tolerated.
Yeah.
It is absolutely an assault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to make a suggestion. I was unable to make it to Chicago, but I had made a sign that said, "What don't these people want you to hear and why?"
Oh, that's a good one, Lori. So
Wow.
she said, what
And on
don't
the,
these people
right, and
want
on
you
the
to
other
hear
side it
and
said,
why?
"What's with all the noise?" We really need to get the bypassers involved, interested in talking with them.
Yeah, I love that. I
Yeah.
put that up on the screen. Thank you. What don't these people want you to hear and why? And I like that. And why all the noise? I think that's a great strategy because I think as we've said before, we need to have adaptive strategies to their protests. So we need to have strategies that take into account that they are going to have this noise assault on us, that they will try to silence us. So I think those sign recommendations are a great adaptation to being in participation with their tactics. It's a great counter tactic. I love that.
Yeah. I love that too, Lori. Thank you. I don't know if you can hear me.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. And I'm going to
That was cool. I really like Lori's idea there because that is a really great point that she makes. When bystanders are walking by, they don't know exactly what we're talking about. All they see is a giant shit show. Pardon me, I don't like to swear on these things, even though I swear a lot in real life. But they walk by and they just see total chaos. They don't necessarily know why we're there, and they might not be able to discern what's going on. So providing context for people is really great. And I've actually, it's a shame because I keep hearing this issue framed as the TRAs are referred to as the farther left, and then we're referred to as the far left. And they say, oh, it's the farther left attacking the far left, which is another reason why, we want to steer away from centering partisan language, because we don't want to get pigeonholed as anything. I don't want to get pigeonholed as anything. And the reason why is because it takes away from the message at hand. If I go out there and I just stick to my message, I'll get this many people that will listen to me. If I go out there and I say, my name's Kay Yang and I believe this, this, and that, and I identify as this, this, and that, I'm going to get like this many people that listen to me, or a handful of people that listen to me. So, I actually think it is a good strategy to not use the partisan language. It doesn't mean we can't have our own partisan affiliations if we want to, but that we not necessarily center it or label our entire movement as one thing or the other. Call in. If you're listening, call in. I see someone is saying what rights in the chat. I'm not sure what that is in reference to. We are this stream, we are talking about sex-based rights for women and girls, not just in America, but all around the country. And we're not just talking about rights that are granted from the government. We are talking about our natural born rights as well, our RITES rights that can't be granted by any government or so-called external authority. Women have authority. And when we're talking about our female sovereignty and autonomy, that means it can't be externalized. Sovereignty is not something externalized, right?
Yeah. I see Red 5 Golf is going to be hilarious. I don't know if this person is maybe going to have to just be careful how you address us.
Well, some people, and let's go over that, because some people might not be aware that women have lost all rights that protect us on the basis of sex.
Sorry, Hey, welcome. You're on live with Amy and Kay Yang. You can say your name if you want to.
Hi, I won't say my name. Good evening, ladies. I'm in London, and
wonderful.
Yeah, I'm just so thrilled by both of you, by Kelly J, because I've been to her speaker corners a lot. Anyway, saw what was going on in Chicago. Disgusting. Yeah, how are you all? You must be so proud.
I don't know if I'm even talking to you, am I?
Yeah, you're talking to us. We're doing well. It's been a really great tour, and thank you so much for calling in from London. That's so exciting. I think that's one of the most exciting things is that it's been so great to have a community with women from all over the globe. We had Rex Landy call in from New Zealand. We had another woman call in from Australia. We've had women from the UK and Canada call in. It's from Mexico. I think we had one. It's been really wonderful to be part of a global.
I've never actually spoken myself at any of the speakers' corners. So this is the first time I've actually opened my mouth, but I am a talker generally with friends and getting people's backs up and losing my own friends, some of them, because of this. So yeah, it's a very hard fight for us, but I think truth will win. I have my own ideas about what this hatred is all about. It's about the wonderful magic that we have as women to have children, and also the mother-daughter bond, which is never broken because we know what they are going to experience. So I think that's what this whole rage and hatred is towards women. So it's about that bond. I think the Jewish people got it right, because it's through the maternal bond, isn't it? I don't know if there are any other countries that go along or races that go along with that, but it's through the maternal bond, and it's that is being severed. So maybe I should leave you because you're busy.
Well, we thank you so much for your call, and I don't know if you want to add in. I'm going to call this person right back in a moment. But I don't know.
Okay.
You said you didn't give. You haven't spoken yet at one of these events.
This is the first time.
I love that so much. Well, I'm so glad that you're voicing you're expressing yourself here.
Yeah.
What is your most important thing? What is your thing that you're always saying about this issue? I know that we all come at it from our different angles. So what do you think is the children?
The separation of children from their parents, getting the children, why do AGPs in their 40s, have they no interest in cutting their penises off, but they're very keen to chop up children. So that's the real horror, separating children from their parents, their mothers. They'll never do it really with their daughters, I don't think. But, it's a complete epidemic of girls denying their sex. It's all very, very disturbing. And for me, it's a whole gigantic thing. Global. Everything seems to be tied together. All of
right.
it.
Yes, that's right. That's an important point.
It's the worst fight, really, to the idea that we can, separate from our actual bodies, disassociate. You said that, Amy. I actually left you a voice message, and it was Kay Yang. It was your Deprogrammer was the one that really put me right on the rails. It was the one that you did about the two runners in Connecticut, I think it was. And I have family in the States, and I sent that. I didn't send her the video, but I said, this is what's happening in your area. And she came back at me completely, no, this is all very nuanced. No, I'm afraid I have to go along with it. So, but for me, it's the idea of children really is the worst thing. Obviously, we can only hope that our girls grow up and grow out of this shit and see it for what it is. But it's the children who are being set in place when they're so young. Mm-hmm. When they can't, they're being asked to, deny what their own instinct is telling them. And that's very warped and very dark. So anyway, that's me going on. But thank you so much, ladies. I'll leave you to it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being on. We appreciate you. Bye-bye.
Yes, thank you so much to the caller. I think it's beautiful that she chose to call in today, because if you heard her say it's the first time that she's publicly spoken on the issue. She's been to speakers' corners but hasn't spoken. So this is the first time she was publicly to all of us sharing her thoughts. And that's really amazing. And I appreciate her doing that. Is there anyone else who would like to call in before we close down the line and move forward for the day? I want to give a shout out. Okay, good. We've got another call.
welcome. You're on the line with Amy and Kay Yang.
Hi, Amy and Kay Yang. Oh my God, thank you both for the amount of work that you have done in regards to this issue, because I'm a
That's
guy,
okay.
but I've been watching both of, well, specifically Amy's, well, actually both of your work on this issue, and it's just been amazing.
Thank you.
I'm from New York City, and just all of this is just everywhere. Like in regards to the trans issue, you know, oh my gosh, just like it's everywhere. But that's for me to address it. But I'm kind of I'm very young, and you know, one thing I do want to do is that, you know, like I said again, I think King addressed it, and she was saying how a lot of people just don't know about this issue, and you know, again, like a lot of people just don't know. So, what kind of tips would you give, you know, for someone like me who does want to speak out about this issue, because it matters. You know, women's lives matter, children's lives matter, and stuff like that. So, what advice would you give to someone like me? Because I'm like 17, 18.
So I'm sorry, caller, what did you say you're studying?
He said they're 17, 18.
Oh, you're 17, 18 years old?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you're quite young. I mean, and this again brings a point that young people need to know what's going on as well, and they're being kept out of the loop because they're mostly on social media, and when you're on social media, you are getting the same propaganda forced at you over and over again, and it's all very pro this issue. So I would say, caller, one of the things that you can do is get educated about the basics of what's going on, so that when people say to you, what do you mean? This isn't doing anything negatively to women. This isn't taking anything away from women. Like we just had someone say in the chat, you can say, well, actually, yes, there's this executive order number 13988. There's this executive order. And when this executive order was signed, it took away all the sex-based protections for women and girls. You can point to something tangible like that. You can point to the fact that the UN is pushing this as well. Like I think that's really important, because a lot of young people don't really care about the partisan politics, or they're tired of hearing it, or they just don't care because
for sure.
older people care about it more. And I think younger people, it's important for them to know that this goes so much further beyond the partisan politics, that this is about like extremely rich, powerful people, global governing bodies are pushing this. Because I think young people that are part of pushing the trans agenda, or who would think themselves an ally, they think they're doing something that is going against the dominant system. They think they're being subversive. They think they're rebellious. They think they're fighting back. But actually, they're pawns, they're tools, and they're agents. They're like the foot soldiers doing the dirty work of the elite, powerful people who are the ones who are actually pushing all of this for their benefit, not for the benefit of any people. So I think for me personally, when I'm talking to younger people, they seem to care more about the fact that they're getting played. That's what I like young people to know. You are getting played. You are a pawn. I was a pawn. I was made into a pawn when I was a TRA. I didn't know that I was out there being a rainbow foot soldier for the erasure of women's rights. I had no clue. And these people, they don't know it either. I know when I have conversations with people that they don't realize that.
And I don't think that they realize they are being sold something.
Totally gaslit.
Yeah. And I think, you know, when I like to think about it, you know, who makes the best consumers, because this is ultimately about consumer capitalism, and who makes the absolute best consumers? People who don't conceptualize themselves as consumers, but people who conceptualize themselves as patients who are being helped. Because once you are no longer actively, consciously aware that you are being marketed to, then that consumerism is invisible to you, and it's much easier for you to become a participant in their system. But the more awake and conscious you can be about the fact that you are being sold a product for someone else's profit, then the less likely you are to allow yourself to be sold to on that level. You can make a more conscious decision about what you are buying and participating in. And then, of course, the other thing, if you do listen to me, the thing that I always go back to is our embodiment. And to me, this is, again, I think this plays to I think this does play to someone's values and quote unquote identity in a healthy way. But to have a healthy psychological mental health, you need to have healthy internal validation. You need to be able to validate yourself no matter what someone else is saying about you or to you. And the movement that we are watching in terms of the identity, gender identity movement, is focused constantly on telling young people to seek external validation. And it is also preaching to kids that if they do not receive the external validation that they require for their quote identity, then they are preaching that this puts your mental health in jeopardy and you may become suicidal. So they are putting suicidal ideation in the heads of young people, and they are actually dissociating young people from healthy emotional equilibrium and healthy psychological integrity. Because to have true psychological integrity and resilience, you are the only person who can validate yourself. You shouldn't be trapped in a system where you require other people's validation for your identity.
And it's crazy. Like the amount of people I try to talk this to, they're kind of confused, or they just kind of just don't get it, or they just try to ignore it. But like the way how they're just doing it now, like it's in school, and not only that, like not only if there's powerful people in this as well, who are like on the upper class, but also younger people themselves are in this movement too, and they're also feeding into this ideology, and it's just spreading everywhere in school. I know so many younger people right now who are scared to death of speaking out against it, just because you can lose just your whole reputation. For example, I think there was a guy, I'm not sure, I think it was in Virginia, and there was a locker situation issue that happened, and I think there was a girl in the locker room, and she was just sitting there watching all these guys get changed. Usually we hear that from women, but like it was like that with a guy, and he spoke out, and he was just completely, he was sorry, what's the word? He missed like his, he had to repeat the year over again because he couldn't continue to class because he had to go change in the locker rooms. So like it's happening all the time. They just don't believe me. Even I'm scared of speaking out. So that's why, I thank you both for your courage and just spreading this.
Oh my goodness. And thank you. And thank you. Thank you for choosing to call in today. Thank you for choosing to speak up about this in your life. You are doing the right thing. And I know it's not easy. Just as you said, young people are facing a lot of repercussions as well. And for young people, it's a lot more devastating to lose all of your friends and everything that when you're an adult, it still hurts, but you have better perspective. When you're a young person and all of your friends turn on you and you lose your social standing, that can be very, very devastating for young people. So I appreciate you having the courage to speak up about this in your life and to ask us these questions even. And like, I just think it's so powerful that you're doing that, because you are a role model and you're setting an example. Every time you speak about this, every time you ask a question about this, you're setting an example for others that they can ask a question too, that they can say they don't like it too. So I really believe that that's important. And the reality is that these international governing bodies, specifically the United Nations and the World Economic Forum, they are like, if you go and look up on their, you can go to my website, stopfemaleerasure.com, go under the United Nations tab, and you'll get information to sources about what the UN is doing. They have thousands of pages of documents where they specifically talk about how to activate the youth. They want they're targeting young people to be their young global leaders. They want the young people to demand the implementation of these changes in society that they brand as good, but really these changes are at the detriment of women's sex-based rights and safeguarding for children. So, I think just knowing that what you're doing is the right thing, and knowing that there are big, powerful organizations orchestrating all of this, that can help give you perspective too, right? When things get confusing.
Right.
Yeah, I'm interested what you think about that as well. Did you realize that this is something that the youth are specifically being targeted to be the pusher of this?
I'm not gonna lie, I was a supporter of the trans movement. And, I still, not still, but, I tried to, because I was kind of debating it, because, everything that happened with quarantine. But then what really woke me up was, oh my God, there was the whole Leah Tom situation. And then that's when it really clicked me, like, okay, this is something else that's going on behind here. There's just no room for questions. You can't say anything. Like, even if I say something to, in my school class, like, even I could be reprimanded, and, again, like, you can lose everything. Like, they're targeting, and they're doing it so well too. They're what's the word? They are just gaslighting us. That's the best word to describe it. They're gaslighting us.
Yep.
They're just they have all this other information, all these other words and terms that they use to just lure people in. And it's just, I get why people are scared to speak out. But I don't want to hold the call too long. But thank you both again for what you're doing, and I'm so nervous to call.
Oh no, you were amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much for calling in, and thank you for speaking out, because younger kids in a way are much more interested in, and they're going to listen to older kids,
Yeah.
And younger kids need to see older kids having boundaries around this issue.
Yes.
And they also need to be really, there is something really dangerous that happens to little kids when they are dissociated from their bodies, when they're confused about their own ability to trust their eyes and ears. When little kids feel like they can't trust their own eyes and ears, the world becomes a very dangerous place. It's much harder for them to have healthy bodily autonomy and healthy boundaries, because if you can't trust your own body, you can't, it's very hard to trust the world around you. It's hard to know who to trust. So the more that I think, of course, adults need to model this, but I also know that because of the way the world works, like I think of, when I was a little kid, I cared less about what my parents were doing and more about like what my older cousins and friends in the neighborhood were doing. And so for you to be modeling this is really impressive, and I'm just so proud, and thank you so much for calling and speaking about this and holding this line. I really appreciate it, and I know Kay Yang does as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Yeah, and
Amy, we'll talk to you soon.
Amy brings up a really good point there about why it's important for the youth to be speaking about this, because young kids don't want to listen to us. Okay. When I was a youth, I remember, and you guys all know this phrase, don't trust anybody over 30. Right. Yeah. Well, it's more like don't trust anybody over 20. That's like how a lot of it is going. Even the young women in this movement who speak out, and there there are a lot of young women who speak out, but they don't necessarily speak out publicly with their name and face. And I understand their reasons for that. But, you know, even they are looking at a lot of the older women like, okay, we need younger women speaking about this. And it's not because older women aren't saying things of value. It's because of ageism and sexism. Specifically those two combined. No one wants to hear from an older woman, and young girls especially don't want to hear from an older woman because they're terrified that we're their future. They're terrified that they might become like us one day, and they've been taught to see us as something terrible, something that should be vilified, something that is ugly and horrible.
All right, this is going to be the last call.
Is it Rex, Landy? I see New Zealand.
Hello, welcome. You're on with Amy and Kay Yang. Hey, are you there?
Oh, good morning, Amy. It's Rex Landy again. Aggressive.
Yay!
I just
welcome.
Because I got FOMO.
Go for it.
You women are awesome. Wow, I just want to say I got a letter back from a news outlet here because I complained that they said we were anti-transgender and all this other rubbish in an article. But I'm going to have to go to the Media Council. I'm going to complain about it because we're not anti-transgender. We're pro-women. We are pro-children safeguarding. And the framing and the words and the language are just fucking disgusting. It's that erasure. And our midwife council here, our midwifery council, has removed the word woman from all its literature.
Awful.
And yeah, they're using Te Ao, the Māori, us Māori, the natives, they're using the Treaty of Waitangi to remove the word woman and replace it with whānau, which means family and your wider social circle and people you choose for your family. So,
what's the term they're using, Rex?
Well, they're removing the word woman because 8 mentally ill tranny women have babies every year here. And they are doing this whole thing because there's 8 mentally ill women saying that they're men and they want to give birth. You know, they're not seahorses, they're fucking mentally ill.
And Rex, what's the terminology that they're replacing it with? You said something that means like family something. I couldn't catch that.
Yeah. Whānau. W-H-A with an accent, N-A-U. Whānau is our term for family. But they're replacing the word woman with that, and people aren't happy. People aren't happy. So we're writing to them. They're just going to have their inbox full of hate. But they're doing this for 8 women. There's 8 women a year who give birth after stopping testosterone and slicing their breasts off and la. You know, so we're getting some prime gaslighting going on, girl, and
yeah,
I don't know what's going to wake people up. Like that previous caller, that young man, the young ones are getting sick of it because they're not getting any time in class because the trannies are getting all the time. They suck all the air out of the room. They've got never-ending metriosis.
Yeah.
I know.
Metriosis. I love that. Metriosis.
Teenagers here are big fucking sick of it.
Yeah.
And they're starting to realise, oh, hey, old tranny fried chickenisha over there gets all the airtime, gets all the attention. You fuck, you'll never be a woman. You'll never be a girl. You weren't born a girl. But this is what's happening in New Zealand.
And you know, Rex, you mentioned...
Sorry.
No, you're talking about how it's these 8 women who think that they're blokes that are getting pregnant and giving birth, but because they think they're men, the laws and the language are being changed for them. But actually, let's be clear, those women are useful tools in all of this. nobody that's pushing these laws gives a crap about those women. In fact, the people that are funding and pushing this are probably laughing at those women. Those women are tools and useful idiots, as we say here.
Yeah, they are useful idiots. They are the cannon fodder, you know, that are being forced into it first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an astroturf movement. You know astroturf?
Yes.
Hey, you know what that means?
Yes, but Rex, you should expand on that for the listeners.
Hey, yeah, well, astroturfing is a well-funded movement that looks like grassroots, but it's actually astroturf. Because there's lots of money behind it. And there's just all these stale, pale males, these old trannies that just don't want to fucking die. They're the people that are in charge of it. You know, people like Klaus Schwab and, you know, Martin Rothblatt. No Louboutins for you, Bigfoot. You know, they're fucking mad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they're pushing it, and Fiskers and or whatever his name is, and John Stryker. I keep getting him mixed up with Jeff Stryker. Jeff Stryker's a porn star. He's a gay porn star. And I keep calling that tranny billionaire, I keep calling him Jeff Stryker, and like, must be a mental block. But his name's John Stryker. And they're these men at the top. I just don't want to die.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Well, and that's exactly right, because all those men that you mentioned, they don't just promote transgenderism, they promote transhumanism. They explicitly promote transhumanism. We are now in the fourth industrial revolution. That is the merging of artificial intelligence and technology with biology. These men don't want to die. They want to live forever. They openly talk about wanting to live forever. And that is why they want to control and exploit female biology, because they believe they can hack our female reproductive capacity, that they can hack it and reroute everything so that they can basically get the key for eternal life for themselves.
Yeah. And
preach. They are fucked in the head. They are so fucked in the head.
Yeah, they are. They're demented.
Exactly what they want to do. That's what they want to do. They want to hijack us, and it cracks me up. Everybody's looking at Elon like he's some savior.
Yeah, go off. Talk about it. I am so annoyed about this.
The fucking man is a psychopath. He's a sociopath. I mean, he was fired from Tesla in 2019 for securities fraud. But I read about his monkey experiments. He experimented with some AI interface, putting a chip in monkeys' brains.
Mm-hmm.
And over 70% of the monkeys tried to kill themselves or get out of the cage because of the pain. And Elon said, let the human trials begin.
Ugh.
And everybody thinks he's some fucking savior. It's like he's just another sociopath. See?
Yeah, he is.
That's right. That's right.
They all sitting there like the princesses at Shrek waiting for rescue. Fuck on my own hero.
Yeah.
Rescue yourself.
Yeah. We cannot be waiting for these men, or any billionaire is not our hero. No billionaire is gonna be our hero.
And remember, Twitter was never designed for women to organize so that we could come together and fight back against patriarchy. Twitter was designed to socially engineer and control the masses. And that is what Twitter will continue to do. We could go on about Elon Musk. I could say a lot about this character. But I will say one thing is be very careful, everyone that uses Twitter, including you, Amy, because this is all leading towards they want everyone that uses Twitter and other social media platforms to be identified. And that means connected directly to your documents, your paperwork that says who you are. This is all for social credit scores that are coming. Social credit system is already in effect in China, and the US is looking at China's social credit system for their model. So,
yep. And I'm in negative credit already being a test. I'm going to have negative credit. I know it.
Oh yeah, we've got a negative million.
Thank you so much for letting me have a spur at you. I fucking love your work and I love your streams. I'm going to go back.
Oh, we love you too, Rex. Thank you so much. I love your call-ins.
Appreciate you
Bye,
so
Colin.
much.
Mwah.
Thank you.
Love you,
Mwah.
never surrender.
Mwah,
Never
mwah,
surrender.
mwah. Yeah. All right, that was we're gonna end on Rex Landy, who is amazing. If you are not already, go follow her YouTube, follow her on her social media accounts. She is on Twitter, she is on Getter. She does amazing work. She is someone who, as Magdalene Bird said, she would rather be rude than a fucking liar. She is very outspoken. She is a model to us all of how to stand in the integrity of our words. She has spoken up to her legislature. She has spoken up in her country. She does amazing work. So everyone, please do follow her if you are not already. I also want to thank all of the women who were in the chat today. Judy C, Amanda, Jen Latz, Spiky Turf, Chicana Feminist, Bobina Phoenix, Organic Turf Eliza, Madeline Geraldine, Ong Ikwe. Nung Ikwe, S, Stacy King, Andrea, Anita Fatty Boom Batty. Let's see, who am I missing?
I saw Carrie was here. I saw Lindsay Piccolo. Hi, sister. I saw Gina was in here.
You've got Male Turf, yeah, Carrie. I saw Beth Stelzer was here earlier.
Yeah, that's been awesome to have her popping in.
Yeah, Jen Latz, I really want to thank everyone for participating, because that is what makes it so fun. It makes it the most fun when we are all participating. And of course, that is what Kay Yang and I want to continue to do. We don't want to just watch these events or document these events. We want to build community around these events where everyone can participate, everyone can have a voice. I saw someone say in the chat earlier that these call-ins are their favorite part, and it's my favorite part too, because this is our opportunity to be in participation. I really was excited. There was some really spicy chat going on today, and that excites me because Kay Yang and I want to take things to the next level. We all have the root analysis here. We all have an understanding of the analysis on the identity politics, but we want to go deeper. We think women are ready to go deeper. We want to go deeper. We're bored of we're getting bored. I shouldn't say totally bored, but we're getting bored of the level of conversation that is happening online. And we want to create spaces to have deeper, richer conversation. I like that. Chicana Mexicans would call it mild sauce. I know. You know what? But I grew up in California, so I can take a lot of heat. I have to say, as a white woman, I do like a lot of heat. There's some heat in Portuguese cooking as well. That's my background, but I appreciate it. I appreciate the challenging conversations. We need to have those challenging conversations with one another, and no one. I really want to encourage women, to keep having those, and don't be scared of one another, because I know that everyone is worried about quote unquote infighting, and infighting is one thing. I think infighting to me is when we attack each other for our opinions. But what I hope is that we can investigate and dig into one another's opinions, that we can broaden our own strategy and analysis by listening and digging in and being in disagreement. We have to be able to be in disagreement. And I love this. To infight is to grow. And I think there is a lot of that. I don't speak Portuguese, if that's what you're asking me. I wish I did. Both of my grandfathers were from the Azore Islands, but both of them married non-Portuguese women, so they did not teach it to their kids or their grandkids, unfortunately. So sad. I'm a Sousa on one side and a Vargas on the other. So that's those are very common names there. All right, Kay Yang, I will let you wrap it up as well.
Yeah, I was just going to say, before I ever got involved in speaking on this issue, as the deprogrammer, which the deprogrammer was, I wasn't sharing my identity or my face or name or anything. It was an anonymous project. And before I even did the anonymous project, I already knew that I didn't have a lot in common with the majority of women who were speaking on the issue at that time. But that didn't stop me. I knew that I would need to be strategic. I knew that I would need to put my ego and my pride aside. I knew that I would need to be accepting that other women are thinking and doing different things to me, doing different things than I am doing. But I went into it knowing, all right, they think this, and this. My thinking is way up here on this, but I'm not going to come in and start badgering them like, oh, you got to only do what I do. I mean, I have shared my opinion freely, but I'm not trying to force anybody to do anything. And I think that that's important, right? Like, we're not, just because we're sharing our thoughts, or just because I get up and speak with conviction and say, I believe this, I see it like this is my experience, that doesn't mean I'm making you believe or think what I say. Just because Amy has her breadth of experience and all the knowledge and language that she uses, that doesn't mean she's forcing you to use it too. We should take in information and viewpoints from all different kinds of women and men. I listen to all kinds of men on this topic as well. And that's not to be like, that's not to say that I think their voice is necessarily more valuable than women's on this issue. No, but I want to hear what they're saying. I want to hear what everyone is saying on this issue. I think it's really important to keep a really wide breadth for information. Take in all the information, sift it through your own personal, your own self, your own morals, your own values, and you decide what's right for you. And it's okay for us to be different, and it's okay to have radical politics and beliefs, right? Like I do myself. And like Amy said, we are going to get more and more into some of that stuff after this is over. I'm literally strategically, I'm holding back on a lot that I think and have to say. I am. And it's important. It's because I want to get this done. I want to get the tour done safely. I want to see our women in all of our cities, have powerful, impactful, safe events. I want Kelly J to go home in one piece. I myself don't want to get injured. I think, we focus on the task at hand, and we've got time afterwards to have some of these sticky conversations. And I'm here for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I love you, ladies. We have 2 more of these events. On the 13th, we have Philadelphia. On the 14th, we have New York City. So we will be coming together 2 more times as this community of this tour. But as I said earlier, Kay Yang and I have really, we've been friends for a while, but we've just really loved doing the coverage of these events together. So this is really just the beginning of the community that we are creating and the conversations that we are inviting women towards. So we will be inviting you to more and more conversations. So this is not the end of our group participation. And thank you. Yeah, thank you. You've got Mel Turf. I will pass on your love to Julie. And I want to say, I think you were waiting in the chat before we even started. So you have been here such a long time. So thank you for hanging in with us this whole afternoon.
Yes, thank you.
All right, ladies. I'm going to sign off.
All right. Thank you all. Keep your heads up. Don't ever comply. We won't be silenced. We will win.
We will win.